Developing story. Over the past hour, we've confirmed that a man who was in the hospital following that road rage fight in Lehi was taken off life support last evening and has passed away. The family spokesman tells us that Michael Brown leaves behind a wife and 2 kids. The other man involved in the fight was booked into the Utah County Jail. Police asking anyone who may have witnessed the fight to give them a call. Now our top national stories this hour from ABC News. Hunter Biden's gun trial is underway today with First Lady Jill Biden attending the proceedings. ABC's Terry Moran is outside the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware. He says the defense will argue that Biden didn't intend to lie in his gun purchase form and the wording of the questions was confusing.
How does he get that evidence in if he doesn't take the witness stand? And he is unlikely to do so. So I expect strong cross-examination of these witnesses and a very specific look at the words of that question as his lawyer tries to show the jurors that there is a different story here than the one the prosecution wants to tell.
The trial is expected to last a couple of weeks. The Salt Lake Bees will be holding their own Bark in the Park at Smith's Ballpark tomorrow night. Fans are actually invited to bring their well-behaved dogs to the game, but they must purchase a special Bark in the Park ticket to enter. Pet relief stations and water stations will be provided. Your money at this moment, things are down, but not by much. The Dow is off about 18 points right now. The S&P down 14.5, and the NASDAQ is off in the red by about 48 this hour. Coming up, nice today. I would call it near perfect, but boy, the heat wave is on its way. Prepare. We'll tell you more in the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Hello, I'm former Governor Gary Herbert. I've known Spencer Cox for over 15 years. His commitment to Utah and to our future is unmatched. In his first term, he passed record tax cuts while increasing teachers' salaries and funding for education. Now more than ever, we need a strong, principled, conservative leadership in this state. I trust Spencer Cox completely. Vote to keep Utah strong. Re-elect Spencer Cox as governor.
Paid for by friends of Spencer Cox.
Hi friends, Dan the Laptop Man here from PC Laptops. I get a lot of emails with feedback from customers. Here's one. Dear Dan, I just had the best experience ever. I bought a computer from Shane at your State Street store. I asked several what I thought were really stupid questions. Shane was super courteous and made me feel comfortable through the whole process. People need to understand how important it is to support a local company, especially when your experience is so good. PC Laptops really does love me. Signed, Satisfied. I love hearing feedback like that. It really just gives me the chills. It's the whole reason why I got into the computer business in the first place. You can get a brand new PC Laptops desktop, and they start at only $29 a month, and it comes with a lifetime warranty. That means if anything goes wrong, we're going to take care of you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. That's PCLaptops.com. At PC Laptops, we really do love you.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Where does a journey to wellness begin? Do you start looking for diet ideas? Or searching for exercise plans? Actually, you don't have to look far. Just look to the first 2 letters of the word wellness. We means you don't have to figure it out yourself. It means your hopes and challenges are a perfect match for our knowledge and resources. It means anything you want to achieve, together, we can achieve better. Because wellness begins with we. Intermountain Health, the power of we.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Heather Kelly's back in the traffic center.
Well, our worst delays remain northbound I-15, and they start in Utah County. You're going to see a few brake lights right now going through American Fork into Lehi. Haven't seen a crash causing those slowdowns. But then after you pass SR 92, you're still crawling along over the point of the mountain all the way up to about 90th South in Sandy area, and again, getting into downtown Salt Lake City. That is the worst of it. Most of the crashes have cleared, though, including the one Bangerter Highway at 134th South in Riverton. Is the IRS harassing you? Are tax problems ruining your life? Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox help. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Very pleasant day today with a high of 79, and then the heat starts cranking up. We'll add 10 to it tomorrow, so 89. 95 on Thursday, 97 degrees on Friday. It wouldn't be out of the question to actually see a triple-digit temp sneak in there from somewhere along the Wasatch Front. Right now, enjoy it while you can. 66 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
It just broke my heart as I posted to my Facebook page, Dave, about this father and this husband who has passed away in Lehi after a road rage incident escalated to fisticuffs, punches being thrown. Just a horrible situation.
Incredible, because it's the second road rage death that we've had in as many days. It's 9:07. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
Well, President Joe Biden's son Hunter on trial for felony charges related to allegations that he illegally obtained a gun back in 2018. First Lady is there in court with him. And the president has pledged his support of his son.
During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life.
I just saw Trey Gowdy, former congressman, attorney on Fox News, said the only reason Hunter Biden and Donald Trump are being prosecuted is because of their last names. So it's not partisan, he's saying. He said it's just the fact that you happen to be in the political crosshairs that all of this stuff is coming down on you. And it makes me think I would never want to run for political office because it is so toxic and so vicious that if you've got the wrong name, you're in trouble.
Countdown. 2.
It makes me think, do I even want to be a juror? I mean, think about the Trump jurors, now the Biden jurors, and then we've got this big screen mob-like movie situation unfolding in this major, massive fraud trial in Minnesota, where a juror says a woman dressed in black appeared at her home, knocked on the door with a bag stuffed full of cash, Dave. $120,000 as a bribe if she would acquit the 7 defendants who were standing trial. Well, that juror gets dismissed. And at first, I didn't really buy this story on its face until I read that this 23-year-old juror not only reported it immediately, but it was her father-in-law who's the one who answered the door.
That is an incredible story. I mean, think about $120,000 sitting right there. Nobody knows. Nobody would know. I mean, it's incredible. But it makes me also realize how vulnerable jurors are to manipulation. This person was honest. How many people would just turn away $120,000?
Launch countdown. 1.
Well, we've started talking about these 2 terrible road rage incidents. Now we have 2 men who are dead in just the last 2 days. Dave and I started looking up. We just started researching how prevalent it is. And the number of road rage shootings has increased almost 500% in the last decade, Dave. This is happening a lot more than I would have thought.
It's something we don't speak about and talk about or do something about nearly enough. You're far more likely to lose your life in a road rage incident than you are a mass shooting. And think of how many times we've reported and talked about and legislated or tried to in regards to mass shootings. Road rage is a far larger problem and bigger danger to everyday Americans and Utahns.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Let's begin with the road rage incident in Lehi. We learned this morning that 38-year-old Michael Brown Dave passed away. There was another incident we'll talk about in just a few moments in Clearfield yesterday. Another man, he's 60 years old, he's dead. But this Lehi situation, Adam Small has been on it all morning, and it sounds like it started with somebody getting cut off in traffic and then a brake check.
Adam joins us right now, and you've been covering these road rage incidents, Adam. What happened here at the Lehi?
Right, so this was on Sunday afternoon. So what police had said is that Michael Brown's out driving, and apparently this started when they say he had brake checked and cut off another driver. It was around the 1300 West Main Street block in Lehi. And then apparently other driver gets upset, follows Michael into a nearby neighborhood. They say both of them get out of the cars, and the arrest documents I reviewed, I believe the words that I read were that both actually got a few punches off each, and Brown was hit in the head. Police found him bleeding from the head, lying unconscious in the road. And the worst part is that his 8 and 10-year-old sons witnessed him get knocked out and what eventually would lead to his death. He was flown to the hospital, and our KSL legal analyst, Greg Skordas, who is a practicing attorney, is acting as the family spokesperson. And he informed me just about an hour ago that he was taken off life support last night.
Oh, it's just horrible. I know KSL 5 Television's Debbie Worthen spoke to a witness who sounds like rolled up on this situation.
I think the moment that I saw the children's face, I think that was just life-changing for me and kind of just put everything in a different perspective.
Jace had a hard time sleeping after seeing the scene.
I think both of the men were at wrong and at fault for what had happened, and they both fought, but it's the children that witnessed that and are seeing their father lying on the ground. I wish that on nobody.
I can't imagine how horrific and almost unbelievable that something so small could have escalated to something so awful. And even a fist fight, I guess I don't think of a fist fight as that dangerous. It's just a fist fight, but you can see one wrong punch, one wrong fall can lead to death.
Adam, when you walked up to me in the newsroom to let us know that the 38-year-old father had passed away, I could see it in your face. You were quite shaken too. I think we all are.
I mean, how many times I'm going to express a little opinion at least, but how many times do we have to cover these stories of people getting in just these petty, these little fits on the road? Like, you got, 5 seconds of your life wasted because someone brake checked you, and now
lives are shattered.
A wife is a widow, 2 little boys don't have a father, and another man, 43-year-old John Williams, is suspected of being involved in this altercation and dealing the blow that eventually led to Brown's death. He's now in jail. He was booked on suspicion of aggravated assault. That charge is going to get changed. And obviously I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the district attorney might go for, but you're talking at minimum potentially manslaughter, maybe murder. Look at how much has changed for what. And I'll continue to keep you guys updated on the latest info. I mean, how many times do we have to have this conversation here?
Well,
yeah, I think it's in part why we do have this conversation on this show specifically, because we do need to address it and look at what needs to be done, whether it's legislation, whether it's education, but we need to talk about it more because the consequences, you described them perfectly, are so devastating.
Well, unfortunately, legislation is not going to stop somebody in the moment. They're not going to stop and look at the code and see, what they could. It's that rage and anger takes over, and then, fisticuffs prevail. But it's not always that this goes to blows. We got a 60-year-old man who lost his life yesterday in Clearfield. We'll talk about that road rage incident straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
I'm John Curtis. As a small businessman, I built gun ranges to help our law enforcement and our military. As mayor of Provo, I took aim at reducing waste, and we balanced our budget. In Congress, I've stood up to Biden and voted repeatedly against his reckless spending.
And when it comes to standing up to D.C. and protecting our land, John Curtis has done that too. He forced the federal government to transfer more land back to Utah than anyone in state history.
I'll never let D.C. bureaucrats or outsiders tell us how to manage our land.
And John Curtis is the only candidate China has threatened to arrest because John stands up to the communist aggression. And Curtis is fighting to secure our border and stop the cartel's deadly flow of drugs in our country.
I will always stand up for America and Utah. That's why I approve this message.
John Curtis, conservative Republican for U.S. Senate.
I'd be honored to have your support.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
And suddenly,
we watch temperatures start their climb.
It's summer.
Better chances for 90-degree days.
Get a reliable KSL forecast and the latest road and construction delays. With traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. Mornings and afternoons, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Curious about stem cells? Stem cell therapy is revolutionizing the medical industry. Tony Robbins, Joe Rogan, and Mel Gibson are all talking about the benefits, helping to repair damaged tissues, reduce inflammation, and improve recovery times for a variety of conditions, including chronic pain, injuries, hair loss, and skin care. It provides a promising alternative to traditional surgical procedures. Stem cell therapy may be the treatment for you. Join David Costellar, founder of Regenerative Research Group, for an evening of education on stem cell therapy, the features and benefits, this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehi. Tickets are $20 at the door, or register for free at eventbrite.com and search stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. Join David for an evening of education on stem cells. Register for free admission, eventbrite.com stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehi.
One of the best ways to find out about 3-Day Kitchen and Bath is actually to hear the results for yourself. On the phone with us is Wendy in Darwin. Wendy, you got a brand new bathroom.
I do, and it's beautiful.
Are you loving it?
I am absolutely loving it.
Okay, tell me about your bathroom.
It went from a dark room that felt like an absolute cave when I walked into it to a bright, airy, opened the space up. I mean, I don't know what else. It's just absolutely wonderful.
She's almost speechless. So, Darwin, tell me about all the man stuff. How did it work? The quality, the convenience. How did they do?
Excellent. We contacted 3-Day Bath, and they got back to us the next day. The communication was excellent. They were on time in all their promises, and it's beautiful. It's a great bathroom.
Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchenutah.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a man is dead and another man in the hospital after what police say were 2 separate road rage incidents over the last 24 hours. Second, several of the jurors who sentenced Chad Daybell to death are speaking out for the first time. And third, opening statements now underway in the Hunter Biden gun trial taking place in Delaware. We'll shoot for a high today of 79 degrees and right now in Salt Lake City with plenty of sunshine, 66. Let's get you back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
It just takes a matter of seconds. It takes one incident in traffic and lives are ruined forever. We just got a photograph moments ago from the family of Michael Brown. He's 38 years old. He lost his life when a road rage incident escalated to 2 men fighting, and Michael got punched in the head, according to police, and he has passed away. He was taken to the hospital fighting for his life and has now lost his life. So I put that photograph right now. I not only posted it on my Facebook page of Michael and his wife, Mandy, Dave, but also we have it on KSLNewsRadio.com and as well on our YouTube feed and our Facebook feed right now if you're watching us live.
And Debbie Worthen from KSL TV talked to witnesses and had discussed what they had seen. And this witness described a situation where both men got out, they got in a fist fight. Let me play a little bit of that from Debbie's interview.
I think like the moment that I saw the children's face, I think that was just like life-changing for me and kind of just put everything in a different perspective.
Jace had a hard time sleeping after seeing the scene.
I think both of the men were at wrong and at fault for what had happened, and they both fought, but it's the children that witnessed that and are seeing their father lying on the ground. I wish that on nobody.
And it sounds, at least according to that witness, that both men were in the wrong, that both men got in the fight, but this young father died because of this road rage.
And the kids witnessed it.
And they watched it happen.
Horrible. It's just horrible. I'm not sure what takes over that it becomes like that. Although I will tell you, I was a road rager once. I mean, it wasn't this bad.
Really?
We'll talk about that in a few minutes because I want to make sure we're talking about what's been going on the last couple of days here along the Wasatch Front. But we'll talk about that where I pursued somebody after a hit and run. I pursued somebody, not at a high rate of speed, but I realized now we didn't have the word road rage back then. We didn't use those terms. I realized I was the road rager. And I'm lucky. When she stepped out of the car, that I could tell from a distance, she was probably in her 90s. So I was one of the lucky ones. But I'm not sure what I can point to takes over in the moment, that it escalates to the point where you're out of the car and you're fighting or you're pulling a gun. But let's go over to Clearfield, where got word last night of just a strange situation going on. Wasn't quite sure what it was. It turns out it was another road rage incident. Dave, I was reading up on it all night long, and it turns out that one man was pursuing another after a hit-and-run situation.
Recognize that it's not worth your life. Get what information you can and pass that along to the police and let them take care of that from there.
That's Clearfield Police Department talking about what not to do in a road rage incident, but I want to walk through what we know about this incident up in Clearfield, and that is that one man allegedly got into a hit-and-run accident with another and then took off. The one who was 60 years old and driving away was pursued by somebody through the neighborhoods. He was a 30-year-old driver. And then the driver who was fleeing stops, gets out of his car, and then seems to be walking back to the other car, and then shots are fired. And it seems from what I'm reading on KSL.com, it was the 30-year-old who shot the 60-year-old, and the 60-year-old is dead.
And according to these reports, Debbie, it sounds like the 30-something had called 911. And as he was pursuing this individual, they were keeping Layton City apprised of the situation. And then there was the encounter.
I want to talk about road rage and how often it happens, because we're now reporting on 2 incidents in 2 days here.
Yes.
And we know statistically, because Bankrate has compiled a whole bunch of stats on road rage, that it happens more often in the summer months. We're more irritable when it's hot outside. It also happens usually between 5 and 7 o'clock at night, which very much mirrors what we saw last night up in Clearfield. Does not mirror what happened in Lehi, because that happened on a Sunday. It happened Sunday afternoon. So what happened in Clearfield, it was 6:30 last night that the man was shot and killed. But we know from these statistics, right after you get off work, you're easily enraged. Anything can, rub you the wrong way, probably because you've had a bad day at work.
I can see it. I've been angry on the road. Everyone has. Everyone's been frustrated and lashed out in some way, whether it's tailgating or brake checking or, speeding, whatever it might be. But, Debbie, as I was listening to these stories, I think about the 2 guys that get in a fist fight. Like, that seems like a bad thing, but it's not like somebody pulled a gun. It sounds like it was just a fist fight. Fist fights happen. But the worst possible scenario ended up being the case. In the second situation in Clearfield, where this 60-year-old man was shot, we don't know what led up to it, or we don't know what caused it to boil over, or why this person pulled the gun. We don't know if it was self-defense. We don't know if he was being overly aggressive, if he was just being violent. We don't know the full stories, and the investigation's gonna play as it plays out. But it will be very interesting for me to see what charges come, because when there are 2 deaths, we want to hold somebody accountable. Even if both were in the wrong, we still want to hold somebody accountable.
So road rage shootings in this country have increased almost 500% in the last decade. 500%. 481 shootings, 777 deaths. Look, you don't know who's bringing a gun to a brake check incident.
Exactly.
You gotta be able to just let it go. You have no idea if you confront somebody, what's going to happen. If they're going to pull a gun, they're going to pull a knife, or they're going to start punching on your head.
I think part of when I look at these numbers, I wanted to compare them because we just don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about road rage and the dangers of it enough. So I wanted to compare it to something we talk about in great detail. Every time a mass shooting in this country happens, it is national news. It happens and it's plastered up on every TV station. We talk about it on the radio. Let me compare road rage deaths to mass shootings, because the Washington Post has followed this for years about how many mass shootings there are. 777 deaths. That's how many road rage deaths there's been in the last 9 years. Shootings, yes. Yeah. Shootings in a mass shooting event, 464 in the last 20 years. Double the time, half the deaths of mass shootings. So you are far more likely to die in a road rage incident or a road rage shooting than you are in a mass shooting event, whether it's at a school or at a park. That was so sobering to me.
It's shocking.
Almost twice as likely.
We lose our minds on the road. We just lose our minds on the road. And it's the silliest things. I'm looking at this, what leads up to the gateway behaviors to road rage. Of course, speeding is top. But you also have tailgating. Cutting somebody off when they're trying to merge into traffic. How often do you get cut off? You're trying to merge into traffic. It's like the person next to you is trying to push you into the concrete wall or throw you over the ledge, your car over the ledge of the frontage road or something.
Yeah.
It's you look at that, or brake checks, honking, somebody flips you off in traffic. Let's take live calls. Pour out your road rage or nearby almost road rage incident. Kind of was a road rage incident. Could have landed in the middle of a road rage incident. Tell us what happened to you on the roads, and I'll talk about my story. Dave, you have a story that's incredible about a road rage incident.
My buddy.
Yeah.
He was the road rager. You would never, ever guess. He's the nicest guy ever.
Look, folks, we've got two dead men. They've both been killed in road rage incidents in the last 2 days. So let's pour out our road rage incidents live on the radio. 801-575-TALK, 801-57-TALK. Your live calls next.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes. Here are some of our top stories this hour. Salt Lake City recently approved requests to create historic districts in the Laird Heights and Princeton Heights areas. Those are affluent areas, but the requests were accompanied by offers of help from other communities who are trying to maintain value in their properties. Council Chair Victoria Petro represents the west side, including Rose Park, and welcomes the help.
So the land value always stayed relatively low over here, but it's always been the place where the American dream is alive. It's always the place where we are building the equity, in making those investments that leverage the next generation.
She says they will leverage the momentum to use the skill sets that's being offered by Laird Heights. The Rose Park area was created after World War II when homes were built for returning soldiers. Currently, there's not an active application for an historic district on the west side. Now our top national story from ABC News. Attorney General Merrick Garland testifying before the House Judiciary Committee as part of an annual oversight hearing. The AG is defending his department's work and denying all allegations that the DOJ is being weaponized against former President Donald Trump. Let's take a look at your money at this moment. The markets are down, not off by much, however. The Dow down about a tenth here with a loss of 40 points. The S&P is down 20, and the NASDAQ off this hour by 62. Coming up, enjoy these temperatures today, because if you're not a fan of hot weather, bad news for your weekend. We'll check the forecast next. KSL News Time, 9:32. News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about Connecticut water softeners is the way that they're designed. One of my jobs when I was growing up, I remember this, I was in charge of the bags of salt to put into the water softener. They're about 40 pounds, and my mom would come home from the store, I'd grab them, and I would load them up. Well, because Connecticut is so aware of, I guess, you, the owner, is they actually have the salt bin that is lower than is normal. Typically they're, chest high. You got to lift up these big, heavy 40-pound bags of salt to dump them in. They've got ones that are designed shin high, so you don't need to lift them all the way up, stress your bag, hurt your shoulders, and you can just dump them in and you can enjoy this soft water. Connecticut of Utah has been fantastic with me. They walked us through the entire process. It was a great investment into our home. So if you're interested in getting soft water into your house, give Connecticut of Utah a call. They're an authorized Connecticut dealer, obviously. 801-576-8600 is the phone number you ought to use. 801-576-8600. Of course, you can check them out online at softwaterutah.com.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
With big tech coming after our kids,
the inflow of illegal drugs coming to our state.
For Attorney General, we need someone we can trust to do the right thing for the right reason.
That's Derek Brown.
Derek fought to protect kids on social media.
He'll defend the Second Amendment.
Stand up to Biden when he tries to take our lands.
Derek Brown will fight to secure the border.
And that's the kind of leadership we really need.
We trust Derek Brown for Attorney General.
I'm supporting Derek Brown.
Paid for by Derek Brown for Attorney General.
You wouldn't trust a butcher to babysit your pet pig. You wouldn't trust a lumberjack to repair your antiques. Or a professional wrestler to be your massage therapist. So why would you trust anyone but AMCO to fix your car? For over 50 years, we've been the trusted experts in transmission repair.
Check out AMCO's multiple financing options, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow.
AA MCO.
Traffic and weather together, again brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. How we doing out there, Heather?
We're doing pretty good. Much better than we were at the peak of our rush hour delays during the early commute. But we still have a little bit of slowing northbound I-15 as you come off the point of the mountain, head up to Bangerter Highway in the Draper area. Other than that, all the freeways are moving at speed now, including I-80 through Parley's Canyon and over to Park City and the east and west side belt routes. Did you know simple maintenance rejuvenates your asphalt roof for 30 to 50% longer? Don't wait for a disaster. Go to the Masters at masterroofingutah.com to schedule your free assessment today. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Really a beautiful day today. High of 79. We'll add 10 to that tomorrow to 89 degrees. And the temperatures, if we get there, expected on Friday at 97, would be about 20 degrees above seasonal normals, believe it or not. So enjoy that cool air while you've got it. Right now, partly cloudy, 68 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
We're talking about road rage this morning. We have two men who were killed in road rage incidents in just the last couple of days. One, Dave, happened in Lehi. We learned this morning that a 38-year-old father
with the three things you need to know this hour,
has passed away. He took a blow to the head and couldn't survive it. And a 60-year-old man in Clearfield shot dead yesterday in what appears to be an accident, a hit-and-run situation that ended up in a shooting death of him.
And this is something that happens here in Utah all the time, across the nation. All the time. Mm-hmm. In fact, this last legislative session, we tried to do something about it, about road rage incidents. And the governor just signed into law an escalator. So if you get pulled over or if you're convicted of some sort of traffic violation, the road rage can be an enhancement and they can take away your license because of road rage.
Well,
that just passed.
Yeah, and we know in the situation in Lehi that certainly there'll be the county attorney will be looking at much stiffer penalties and criminal charges related to that. We have a little more information on that one, and it sounds like two men got into a fist fight after one of the men cut off another man and brake checked him in traffic, and then that went into a neighborhood, and they both get out of the car, and they're punching each other in front of the 38-year-old father's two children who are in the car, and the 38-year-old is the one who lost his life to this, and another man was taken into custody. So we know that there could be something much more serious than a driver license suspension there. We're not quite as clear with what led up to this situation in Clearfield, but we know it happens a lot. The numbers have increased dramatically over the last couple of years. In the last decade alone, it's a 500% almost increase in shooting deaths related to road rage. And men and women are kind of equally guilty of it. I was shocked by these statistics in Bankrate that men are 60% more, of the problem when it comes to the gateway incidents to road rage, like brake checking and aggressive driving, but women, we're 40% of the problem. We're 40% of the problem.
Yeah, those are incredible numbers. We're taking your phone calls, 801-575-TALK. Let's start off with Sherman in Bountiful. Sherman, what do you think?
Hi. I hope DOT and the Highway Patrol are listening to this. This happened to me twice in 1 week, traveling from Layton to Bountiful. I live in Bountiful. And as people should know, the left-hand lane, which is the fast lane, when you get close to Bountiful, there's an exit of 3rd West. But you exit that from the fast lane.
Oh, 5th West, yeah.
Yeah, Third West. I'm sorry, 3rd West. And so as I was approaching 3rd West, I was probably about a half a mile, and there was a lot of traffic going on. I thought I'd better get over. And I looked in my side mirror, rearview mirror, and I saw this big, jacked up F-150 in that lane. But I had plenty of room. And so I signaled, and I moved over, and he came up on my tail like you couldn't believe.
I bet.
And
I've seen it.
And so he wanted me to move over to the right, but I was getting off on the left. He must not have been paying attention to the signs. So he stepped on it and got in front of me and then brake checked me.
I'm sorry.
Not only did he do it once, but he did it twice.
Yeah.
And it was, and then he wanted more.
Well, Sherman, we're sorry that happened. It happens a lot. It happens to me too. I think the brake check situation, I mean, it's just, it can escalate. It's scary. Just don't do it.
Well,
don't do it.
His point, I think, that he touched on early on was, what is UDOT, what is Highway Patrol doing about it? And I would say technology might be one of those solutions. Right now, we have a lot of dashboard cameras. And if you have, and it's cost you a few $100s to have a dashboard camera installed, you would have video evidence of this kind of stuff that you could take to police. And I think that's one of the solutions, because cops can't be everywhere at all times, but every one of us could have a dash cam video so that if something like this happened, then you crack down on people.
I'm not sure I want to confront a brake checker in court. I understand.
It's the only way to change it.
Okay. That sounds really complex.
So you just let it happen?
No, just don't brake check people.
Well, people are going to do it, so we got to figure out some way to address
stop
this.
it.
Right?
Okay. I wanted to have a chance to get to my story, because I've been teasing it all morning long about what happened to me when I now consider myself the road rager. But we got a lot of phone calls here. Hi, Laurel. Can you give us your road rage story?
Yeah, I wonder if my road rage happened with the same big truck, because I was on my way to work, going really kind of fast. I pulled in front of a car. I had room, and I was pulling ahead of that car, and all of a sudden this truck was right behind me. So I moved over, and he started doing all this weird stuff, scaring the crap out of me. He would pull up next to the next car and then block me in and wouldn't let me go anywhere. I was on Legacy, and we finally hit 215, and I pulled over to the far right, and he was following me just right on my tail. I proceeded to get off. Well, I went around another car, but I proceeded to get off at 2100 North, and a truck was following me, and the truck that was, well, another truck, but the guy that was road raging me pulled over to take that 21st exit off, and I saw him, and as soon as I could, or at the last minute, I pulled back onto 215, and he's going up the ramp, flipping me off. So he was following me, and I was scared to death.
I bet. It sounds like cops should hang out in that area. If it sounds like the same car, same truck is doing the same thing. Glad everything ended okay, Laurel, for you. Look, we've got so many phone calls, and unfortunately, we ran out of time. I guess it takes a long time to describe what led up to the road rage. So I'll save my road rage incident for another day or maybe later in the show, and we can talk about that more maybe in the 11 o'clock hour. In fact, we'll return to this conversation in our 11 o'clock hour. Straight ahead, a juror reports that she got a $120,000 bribe to acquit defendants in a trial that's going on in Minnesota. And as the story's unfolding, the judge orders cell phones in the courtroom to be confiscated now by the FBI. So they're looking for something specific. We're going to tell you what it is next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Well, it's been 5 months. Time to check in on those New Year's resolutions you made to lose weight. How'd it go? I asked because once I started my health journey with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, it took me just over 5 months to let go of 70 pounds of fat weight. And even better, I did it all from the convenience of home with no office visits, injections, crazy workouts, or fad diets. What I did have was access to a certified dietitian like Avery.
I feel like you're enrolling in like a school of nutrition with a whole new perspective on what food is and what it does for your body.
Soda helped me retrain myself and change the lifelong food habits that got me where I was in the first place.
I think the accountability is the game changer for everything.
So, how fast do you want to let go of that weight for good? Go to sodaweightloss.com and save 15% by clicking one simple button, Request a Nutritionist Callback. A Soda nutritionist will be on the line before you know it, and you'll be on your way to looking and feeling like you've wanted to. That's SOTAweightloss.com. Don't forget, Soda stands for State of the Art.
Debbie Myler, wife of Attorney General candidate Frank Myler. Candidates speak theoretically about helping the oppressed and abused. Frank actually does that. I know because I work with him. He's actively fought these battles for years, providing free legal advice to people in some of the most desperate situations. I've seen the fruits of Frank's labors. We want an Attorney General who cares. Frank is that person. Vote Frank Myler for Utah Attorney General.
This is Frank Myler, and I approve this ad. Paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. You may have heard that mortgage rates have come down over the last several months. While they are still higher than a few years ago, the change has brought some opportunities. Some simple math can help determine whether a refinance will be beneficial to you, even with a higher rate than you currently have. This can happen when you knock off enough other high-interest debt to lower your overall payments. We can go over this with you to see if it makes sense for your situation. We are currently saving many clients several $100s per month in payments using this strategy. And if you refinance using an FHA or VA loan, you will be eligible for a streamlined refinance when rates come down further. That's a win-win. Call us today to see if this would benefit you. Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. NMLS 289115.
Progressive presents 10 things on a contractor's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Bidding a new client, giving an accurate estimate, finding affordable materials, getting a client to pay you for work you already did, getting a client to pay you, period, securing permits and workers and tools, getting those workers and tools to work together, and finding the perfect pair of overalls. Pockets, baby. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Tay-Tay was a typical girl that loved pink, singing, and all kinds of animals. At 3 years old, she tumbled off a horse and received a traumatic brain injury. Her family prayed for a miracle. And when they realized their daughter would not survive, they made the decision to donate her organs. Because of her donation, 4 other people received her organs and tissue, allowing others to live. Go to donorconnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old and not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save a life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you please donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is pretty easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope, heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
Gotta change my oil.
How about new Valvoline Restore and Protect? It restores and protects your engine to run like new.
Get in zone.
It restores your engine to like factory clean?
And protects.
Get in zone.
So Valvoline Restore and Protect restores and protects.
Now you can get 5 quarts with an STP extended life oil filter for $37.99.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Master Electrical Services, home of the upfront pricing guarantee.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, Utah's getting more than $6 million in grants from FEMA to help areas impacted by flooding. Second, several dozen U.S. World War II veterans are in Normandy, France this morning, taking part in ceremonies throughout the week, remembering the D-Day landings 80 years ago. And third, an 83-year-old woman is recovering from serious injuries after getting gored by a bison at Yellowstone National Park. 79 expected for a high today, and we're well on our way. It is 69 degrees in Salt Lake City. As we get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
When I started reading this story this morning, Dave, I thought, am I watching a mob movie unfold in real time where cash and bribes are being offered up for a juror to acquit a couple of fraudsters that are on trial in Minnesota? So here's the headline. This is out of the Star Tribune. A juror is excused after a woman offered her a bag of $120,000 in cash to acquit the defendants. A little bit of the backstory to this. At first, I thought there's no way somebody showed up at this woman's door. She's 23 years old. She's a juror in a major trial back in Minnesota, a multi-million-dollar fraud trial, and offered her $120K in cash. Turns out her father-in-law is the one who answered the door. So now I'm like, it probably did happen. It's wild.
With a little extra money if she actually acquits the defendant. So this is like a payment up front. Here's $120,000. And Debbie, I was trying to think, like, what's my number? Is there any number out there? Because if I saw a bag of $120,000, is there going to be a temptation? Heck yeah, there's a temptation out there.
So a woman shows up at her door, knocks on the door, and this is just a couple of days ago. So this trial's been going on for weeks, and it's a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme that has related to, of all things, imagine this, pandemic money that was handed out during the pandemic. And the government's alleging that a bunch of people made up some scheme to get, this pandemic money, and it had to do with school lunches, something like that. And only 10% of the money was used for school lunches, and the rest of the money was used in this big fraud scheme. Probably to line their own pockets. So yeah, this woman shows up. She's dressed in black. It's in a gift bag. The money's in a gift bag, like something
floral gift bag.
You give your buddy, you give your best friend, a birthday gift in one of these gift bags with a little tissue paper sticking out of it, and it was filled with and then $50 and then $20 bills. So she tells the judge. I mean, she reports it right away. Good for her. This
Yes.
23-year-old juror makes the right decision. Does the right thing.
And where my mind goes is, well, if they offered her that money, then what about the other 11 jurors?
Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, live on the line. Wow, this is wild, but it's not unprecedented. This has happened in other cases over the years. I wonder if it just shows how vulnerable our justice system is. We have, a lay jury serving. They're just average citizens who get, called, and then they serve on these jurors. But I'm curious. I don't know how in the world, the woman dressed in black managed to get her address. That's also a concern.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Because when jurors are identified, Debbie, and we go to court, they only identify themselves by, besides their name, their first name, by their city where they live. So, for example, Salt Lake City or Mill Creek or something like that. But it wouldn't be really difficult once you can figure out who they are to find out more information about them, including their address. But, yeah, this is not unprecedented, but it's really bad. And it's the kind of situation where the cover-up is probably more serious than the crime. Whoever did this could face very serious consequences. And you're right. You have to hand it to the juror to come forward and disclose that. Of course, she ended up getting recused and taken off the jury panel because the defendants know where she lives, and she probably doesn't want anything to do with the case at this point.
Greg, this is so much money. I would just think the temptation would be so great, but I guess that this is exactly what you do. If something happens, you just report it. Is there any danger, or is she in trouble at all? Or is it just the fact that she was so transparent right up front, everything's good?
Yeah, I think she did everything by the book. I think she did everything right. I think that her anonymity has been compromised, and she may very well be fearful about that because people know where she lives, or at least people involved with the defense of this case know where she lives. But I can assume that she'll get some fairly serious protection with her local law enforcement agency and the courts and whatnot until this trial's over. And she, I would bet anything she's not bothered again. Of course, she's not a juror anymore either, so there's no reason for anybody to bother her now.
We're talking to Greg Skordas about a case that's unfolding in Minnesota where a juror claimed that a woman showed up at her door and offered her $120,000 in cash to acquit 7 defendants who are currently on trial. And prosecutors have called this like one of the largest pandemic fraud schemes in the nation. Greg, it's like $250 million in federal money. It was meant to feed needy children, but hardly any of it went to food. And so all these people are on trial. And I wonder how vulnerable, our justice system is to acts of bribery. What do you think as an attorney? And you were once a prosecutor for a long time. Did you ever see something like this? Does it happen a lot?
Happily, Debbie, I've never seen anything like it, and probably you haven't either. That's not to say it doesn't occur or that it hasn't occurred, and maybe it's occurred in situations that some of us don't even know about. But this is the stuff of movies. It's the stuff of gangster movies, and it doesn't happen, and it shouldn't happen. And we do everything we can in America. And I think the recent Trump trial was a perfect example of that, to preserve the anonymity of jurors for reasons that go even beyond what they did while they're serving, but afterwards, so people don't confront them and talk to them and ask them questions. I mean, when they're done deliberating, they should be able to leave in peace and continue their anonymity.
Yeah.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining us, KSL legal analyst.
I want to mention, too, this is a twist in this case. The judge has ordered the defendant's phones be confiscated by the FBI. So they want to see if any of the defendants have leaked the jurors' names, and they'll be searching the phones. And the rest of the jury pool has also been sequestered, and they've been interviewed by the judge to make sure this hasn't happened to another juror.
Exactly. And I would imagine there will be a financial audit as well. The FBI is going to be involved to make sure that this one juror did the right thing, Did all 11 jurors have the same outcome?
Next, Hunter Biden on trial.
During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life.
We'll take you there live, straight ahead.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. A 38-year-old man died last night following a road rage incident in Lehi on Sunday. Police say the victim was cutting off and brake checking another driver who followed him into a neighborhood. And police say both men got out of their cars and exchanged punches. The victim, Michael Brown, was hit in the head and suffered a traumatic brain injury. The suspect has now been booked into jail. Brown leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. It's starting its long trek home, an unmanned Chinese spacecraft on the far side of the moon. We have more from ABC's Tom Rivers at the foreign desk.
Liftoff for the Chinese probe with its precious cargo of lunar rock and soil samples. Flight Control says the first maneuver, a preset orbit around the moon, then setting a course back to Earth. The mission is the 6th in the Chinese moon exploration program. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the foreign desk.
Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 65 points, NASDAQ down 70. And our KSL weather looks like it'll warm right up and get genuinely hot by the end of the week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Hello, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. I'm running for re-election to keep Utah's conservative values in Washington, D.C. Like you, I'm tired of a government that spends too much, listens too little, and makes all of our lives harder. In Washington, I'm pushing back against bad ideas, liberal policies, and politicians who've been there longer than I've been alive. Keep me in Washington so I can keep fighting for you, because we're just getting started.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
Copiers, printers, service, and supplies are just the beginning. Les Olson IT is the premier source for your business's structured cabling, IT, software, telephones, and security systems. We partner with you to find the ideal solution to all of your office technology needs. Tell us your goals and we'll get you there. Find out more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Gabby.
Hey, Gabby. It's Jennifer Coolidge. Hi. I'm so glad I reached you at 2 a.m.
Oh, of course. Anyone with a Discover card can call and talk to a real person 24/7. Now, how can I help?
Yeah, I used my Discover card to buy these yellow pleather pajamas, and I'm just not sure I'm pulling them off.
24/7 U.S.-based customer service. It pays to Discover. Limitations apply. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, we've got a crash northbound I-15 in Farmington. It's right at the overpass of Shepherd Lane. Now, I can't see how many lanes are blocked, but traffic is pretty much at a standstill, and it is backed up all the way to almost to Glover's Lane at this point. So you might want to consider taking an alternate route, exit onto West Davis Corridor if you can, or maybe even onto US 89 to get around these delays. Not sure how long the lanes will be blocked, but again, it's just causing a lot of stop traffic as you head through most of Farmington. Southbound I-15 looks pretty good throughout Weber, Davis, Salt Lake, and Utah counties. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 79, warming tomorrow to 89, and then Thursday and Friday get hot with highs in the upper 90s. And right now we're at 70 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic, special coverage of the top national story.
Well, first, it was former President Trump's turn to go to trial. Now it's Biden, but it's Hunter Biden on trial this week, accused of illegally obtaining a gun when he was not legally allowed to own one. I was surprised to learn, Dave, that First Lady Jill Biden was seen in court with them. And in the past, he said this about his parents.
During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life.
I actually am a little surprised that more of the family's not there to support him. Of course, his mom needs to be there. I totally understand that. First Lady aside, that's mom, right? That's who raised him. So I do look at this and I think I feel badly because even if he's guilty of everything, I feel bad that this ends up and leads headlines across the nation.
I just want to be clear. So he was not only with First Lady Jill Biden, but his wife Melissa was there. Her daughter Ashley was there. So there were more members of the family there. I think what you're maybe alluding to is that the president wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Melania Trump wasn't I didn't see her at her husband's trial either. But you're right. I mean, I feel like if somebody in my family were on trial, I would hope we'd all be there as a
support.
It's time for a family reunion. We're all going to the courtroom. Derek Dennis with ABC News, live with us right now. So this trial just launched yesterday. Where are we at with it, Derek?
We're at opening statements from the prosecution and the defense. And, I just want to just go back to your remarks about the president not being in court. There's speculation that President Biden has wanted to sort of distance himself a little bit from this case so as not to be seen as adding in any undue influence, not to be seen as trying to pressure prosecutors, the Department of Justice, anyone to treat his son any differently than the rest. And so that may be why you're not seeing the president there. Plus, it would just be a security issue for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, we're in opening statements. And there are really two sides to this story. Prosecutors claim that Hunter Biden knowingly filled out his application for a firearm in 2018 while being on drugs, actually checked the box affirming that he was not on drugs when they say, in fact, he was. And they provided text messages and passages from his own book titled Beautiful Things, where he admits to being a drug addict and calling it one of his superpowers. So that's one side. The other side is the defense claiming that Hunter Biden did not knowingly fill out the application in a way that was misleading or illegal, and that really it was on the part of the gun shop to help shepherd his application, explain it fully to him, and the like. So you've got two sides to the story here.
Has Hunter Biden ever explained why he bought the gun?
No, he hasn't. And you know, some have asked for that. But you know, if in this country, if you meet the requirements, you're entitled to buy a gun, no questions asked, except for on the form when you fill it out, asking those questions. Are you under the influence? Are you a convicted felon? Those kinds of things would automatically bar you from purchasing a gun. But otherwise, you're free to purchase one in the U.S. if you're of age and you meet the legal requirements.
Well, and it sounds like prosecutors are saying he didn't meet the legal requirements because he might have lied on his application. Of course, that's theirs to prove. Will he testify?
That's a question. We don't know. You know, it would certainly be something to see. But we know that Hunter Biden has made statements to the press affirming his innocence and being very forceful about it. And so if he can do the same thing and if is willing to do the same thing on the stand, then we will see him testify. It's just really up in the air.
Has he spoken to the idea that maybe he's being prosecuted because he is the son of the president, because he has the last name Biden?
He has. He has essentially said those words that if he were, you know, Joe Schmo, you know, he doubts he would be on trial. Whether there's any truth to that, no one knows for sure. But yeah, that has been a statement that he's made in the past to the press and to others. But again, the trial is just getting underway. We're only at the opening statements phase. The judge expects that the trial will go into late next week. And I should tell you that there was a little bit of a rocky late start this morning because there was one juror who just could not make it to court, said she had no transportation, couldn't get there, and there were a few other jurors who were just late. And so that delayed proceedings for a couple of hours this morning. And so we may see alternates sitting in as a result.
Do we need to get the juror an Uber? I mean, I'm sure it would be tough sometimes to get to court, but hopefully she found her way and the other jurors can set their alarm clocks for a little earlier tomorrow. Yeah. Wow. Derek, as always, great reporting for us. Thank you so much, Derek Dennis, ABC News, bringing us an update on the Hunter Biden trial. I think it's just too early for us to predict, you know, how the jury is going to land on this. But the one thing I do want to ask you about is what he said about his parents.
During my battle with addiction, my parents were there for me. They literally saved my life.
Okay. You have no choice when you're a parent of a child who's addicted. You cannot not show up for them. And it sounds like that's what Jill and Joe have been doing all along. And I feel that's a hard place. It's a really hard place to be and continue to be. But the fact that Jill was in court yesterday, and Derek brought up a great point. You know, Dad shows up and he's the president of the United States. How does the jury feel about that? Of course, they may feel the same way when they look out and there's Jill.
Right. It's the first lady, right? It's still your dad. It's still your mom. It feels like he's not showing up for political purposes because it would look bad. You're in there with your son. I mean, it's not a great look. I get it. But ultimately, and I've always felt this about parents that defend their children, even their children that have done the most awful things. This is not Hunter. We're just talking about, you know, a
kids in
gun charge, right? Yeah. But in general, I think it's the right of a parent to support your children. Basically, it all, despite what they've been accused of doing, because you're the only two that, you know, there's just a handful of people that I give a pass. I'm like, I don't care what they're accused of. Everyone needs someone in their corner. And if you're the parent, then you can show up. And I think the First Lady showing up to court is absolutely appropriate. I think it would be, it's where she should be. And I wouldn't have any problem with President Biden showing up to support his son. He's not trying to influence. And if the jury, I mean, you think the jury doesn't know who Hunter Biden is, right? I mean, this is not like some random name here. Obama? Is that your last name? Obama? Like, there's few names in America that you can't really hide from.
It's kind of ironic that, we wrapped up the Trump trial last week and now we got the Biden trial this week.
I wonder if there's any relation. Biden, that sounds familiar.
Straight ahead, leaning on the bank of mom and dad. It's more first-time homebuyers have to get financial help from mom and dad in order to land that first home they're going to buy. So I'm wondering, Dave, don't answer right now. Save it. Would you offer to give your kids money for their first home? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Curious about stem cells? Stem cell therapy is revolutionizing the medical industry. Tony Robbins, Joe Rogan, and Mel Gibson are all talking about the benefits, helping to repair damaged tissues, reduce inflammation, and improve recovery times for a variety of conditions, including chronic pain, injuries, hair loss, and skin care. It provides a promising alternative to traditional surgical procedures. Stem cell therapy may be the treatment for you. Join David Costellar, founder of Regenerative Research Group, for an evening of education on stem cell therapy, the features and benefits, this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehi. Tickets are $20 at the door, or register for free at eventbrite.com and search stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. Join David for an evening of education on stem cells. Register for free admission, eventbrite.com stem cell therapy, or call 866-STEM-EVENT. This Thursday, 6 p.m. at the Hyatt in Lehi.
All of your favorite KSL hosts in the palm of your hand.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, it's so early.
They're on your phone.
Great vacation photos. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was fun.
Courtesy of the KSL News Radio app.
That's a family-friendly movie. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, then. Buy tickets.
When you can't listen live.
Can we talk about something?
Can I wait just a little bit? I got a meeting.
Okay, cool. We'll be here.
Listen on the app. The app for KSL News Radio.
I just elevated my checking account with Utah Community Credit Union. Tim, I'm so blown away at what I get with my elevated checking account at UCCU. I get so many benefits. I get cell phone protection and roadside assistance. The one that blows me away the most is telehealth. I actually get zero copay telehealth with my checking account from UCCU.
Did you know you also get a 0.25% loan discount? It's one of the many things. And if you like to travel or you're on the road quite a bit, a free ATM nationwide, 30,000 ATM locations that you can use while you're out.
Utah basketball star Walker Kessler and Utah Community Credit Union have come together to announce this brand new elevated checking account with more benefits, more savings, more online protections than ever before.
Yeah, there's even something for dark web monitoring, which I have never heard of before, but you can find out more by just going to uccu.com.
And open an elevated checking account online or stop by any branch.
UCCU, you're going to love where you bank.
Your neighbor Greg loves the springtime here in Utah, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
We live in a beautiful two-story home that was built in 1916. Really been prepped and painted very, very poorly.
Rhino Shield ceramic technology is formulated for our unique climate here in Utah and is Class 1 fire rated.
We really had a lot of detail work, and the team at Rhino Shield spent really 4 days just on the prep work, and we were so excited to see that. And the cleanup was just impeccable.
Utah, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
We've gotten numerous compliments, and we've actually even had some of the longer-term residents of our community thank us for protecting the integrity of our home.
This offer is limited, so call now 435-246-4466, 435-246-4466, or rhinoshieldwest.com.
Go Rhino Shield!
Cedar City Bryan Head is full of things you love, from the Shakespeare Festival to cozy cabins, stargazing, and more. Get to know you in Utah. Plan today at visitcedarcity.com.
I'm John Curtis. As a small businessman, I built gun ranges to help our law enforcement and our military. As mayor of Provo, I took aim at reducing waste, and we balanced our budget. In Congress, I've stood up to Biden and voted repeatedly against his reckless spending.
And when it comes to standing up to D.C. and protecting our land, John Curtis has done that too. He forced the federal government to transfer more land back to Utah than anyone in state history.
I'll never let D.C. bureaucrats or outsiders tell us how to manage our land.
And John Curtis is the only candidate China has threatened to arrest because John stands up to the communist aggression. And Curtis is fighting to secure our border and stop the cartel's deadly flow of drugs in our country.
I will always stand up for America and Utah. That's why I approve this message.
John Curtis, conservative Republican for U.S. Senate.
I'd be honored to have your support.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, one of the men who got in a fight following a road rage incident in Lehi has died. The other, now booked into jail. Second, fire crews in Kanab have gotten ahead of a wildfire that knocked out power to part of the town. And third, China has landed a robot spacecraft on the moon, and it's now lifted off to bring its samples back to Earth. 70 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave, and Dujanovic. Priced out. Housing. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
A growing trend for the young kids to get into homes these days is to turn to the bank of mom and dad. And the Washington Post wrote a really in-depth article on this just a couple of days ago. It says more first-time home buyers are getting help from their parents. What's your initial reaction to that, Dave?
Oh, don't look at me. Don't look at me. Don't ask me, because I don't have that kind of money. How much money are we talking about to get in? Because if you're saying you need some help with a down payment, well, 20% on a $500,000 house is $100,000. Like, I don't have that kind of money.
I don't think there are. That's not.
What are we doing?
What they talked about in the article. They talked about parents given,
So you're talking me down.
$16,000 to $17,000, which is about the gift limit where nobody owes any taxes if you gift somebody $17,000. It's just like you give them the money. They don't need to report it to the IRS. They don't need to declare it as income. But anything more than that, they would have to. Then the IRS might.
So you're talking 15, 20 grand.
That's like $15,000. And that just lands them enough money for closing costs or for a little down payment.
Buy down an interest rate, something like that.
It's because life is so expensive right now. All things are expensive. It's kids these days are having a hard time saving. And so mom and dad say, let me help you out. Or the kids go to mom and dad and ask, hey, can you help me out? So I think there's a couple of options here. Do nothing. It's always an option. Be like, you're on your own, kid. I raised you. Best wishes. But invite me over for dinner, would you? Love to be over for the backyard barbecue. Just don't want to spot you any money. So the other option is give them a gift, $17,000 to get into their first home. And I think that the third option, and this is the option I absolutely hate, is co-sign on the loan with them. Co-sign on the mortgage with them. I don't like that idea.
You would rather give them cold hard cash?
Yeah, and walk
Co-signing doesn't cost you anything.
I wouldn't make it a loan either if I gave them $17,000. I do not want to be the
collection agency.
I don't want to do that. Just have the money. I love you. You're going to get into your first home. I want to see a perfectly manicured lawn every time I drive by it 4 times a day. Have me over for dinner once in a while, but I do not expect repayment.
See, I think the cosign is the most attractive for me. Yeah.
Why?
Even though you're kind of on the hook with them, the fact that you don't have to come up with $17,000, because I look at it and I've got 4 children. if I'm shelling out 20 grand every time someone wants to close on a house, that means in a 10 or 15 year period, I'm out $80,000, $65,000, $80,000.
You look at it as though you're out. You're giving the money to your kids.
Yeah, $80,000. That is not chump change, my friend.
You're out that money.
Like,
look at it as an investment in your children's future and your grandchildren's
okay, so
future.
how many things do I have to pay for? I've got to pay for their everyday life, right? Until they're 18, I'm paying for everything essentially. And then I've got to save up money for their college. So I'm going to be paying for their college. Now I got to pay for their house. At what point has Dad done enough? I will tell you right now, Dad has done enough if I get you to 18 and you're still healthy and breathing. Like, that is where my hands are washed and I can be free from any guilt at that point.
So you like being a co-borrower on their mortgage.
No, I don't even like that. I don't like it. I like the good luck, buddy. You want a house? Then you better, save up.
Well, according to the Washington Post, co-signing on the loan is becoming more and more popular. And the rates, number of people that are asking mom and dad to co-sign have gone up. They've doubled. It's like 4% right now of all mortgages have co-signers on them. So mom and dad are rushing to the closing with their kiddos. The other thing that's growing in popularity is not loaning the money, but giving a gift to help them get into this. So that's that. I'm seeing this number a lot in this article, 16 to 17 grand. I don't have any heartburn with that. I think that is the best way to go about it. The reason I wouldn't want to be trapped in a mortgage with my child is, think about this. Your child gets married. Maybe initially you're on the loan with your son or your daughter, but then they get into a relationship and they get married. Then what happens? Do you get booted off of that when they refinance the house? And then what does that look like when you get booted? Because you've been co-signing with them the whole time. You're hoping for a little bit of a kickback at the end when they sell the home. Maybe you've made a little side deal with them that they're going to give you 5% of the equity that they earned. So because you helped them out in the beginning. Of course, this would all be not under the table, but right over the table, right? So you would make sure that you had all your I's dotted and T's crossed when you were filing your taxes, whatever that's worth. But, how does that look? And also, what happens if your child, ends up in jail and they can't make the payment? And then you're stuck with the, $4,000 a month mortgage payment.
Yeah, or they lose their job, or I don't know why you went to jail right out of the gate. Like, how about lose a job first, Deb?
They'd get another job, right? They'd get another 7 jobs if they needed to, if they lost their job.
I think, in part, the pressure on parents is already so incredibly great. To heap on us another, hey, come up with another $17,000 or another $20,000 and you have multiple kids. I think that is an unfair burden. Now, if you do want to provide some sort of loan, the state of Utah does a great thing right now. If you want to get into a house, a first-time home, you can qualify for a $20,000 interest-free loan. And then when you sell the home or you refinance, then you've got to pay that money back. That seems very reasonable. And I think it makes sure the kids understand you can't just keep tapping into dad's money veins and expect that there is an endless supply of cash. I think it's a fair way to say, hey man, I can help you get into the first house, but you're gonna make a bunch of money on this. You're gonna get some equity. And when you refinance or you sell it, it's only fair to pay me back so that maybe I can do it for your other siblings. Like, I think that sounds very fair.
I would say that grant or that loan that the state is offering is the best way to go. Take yourselves out of it. There's no family bargaining going on at the kitchen table. You don't have to worry about your other kids getting jealous because your oldest got the money. And then, just send them to the state of Utah and then they can get that money. We'll have to figure out what that website is. So people, we're going to take live phone calls on this. And maybe during that, or live phone calls, we can give out that website for the state of Utah. So, yeah, but definitely, if they're a first-time home buyer and they qualify for that money, I would absolutely push them in that direction. I think it works out a lot better in the end when you don't have family members wheeling and dealing in contracts together. I think that can be all kinds of
problematic for
Oh,
sure. Yeah, because if you hit hard times and they start foreclosing on the house, yeah, you're going to be put in a terrible situation if you've co-signed into this house. So I think if you can figure out the back end, sign it into a contract where it's automatic, where you don't actually have to go to your kid and say, hey, you got to pay me back, but where it's automatically in the contract that as soon as you refinance, I'm the first money out. I'm the first money paid. I think that's a real possibility, and I think more parents would say, you know what, I can help out that way. Otherwise, you're just going to have to wash your hands and say, sorry, guys, I don't have the money to help you out like that.
So you're a wash your hands kind of dad. I'm an all-in mom. I would absolutely and have been more than happy to help my kids get a roof over their heads. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Are you on Team Dave where you're washing your hands all day long of your kids? A wash your hands kind of dad. Or are you on Team Deb? Yeah, I'm willing to pitch in. 100%. I'm here to help. The Bank of Mom is open for business. We're always thankful to the Stern team for helping us put on great content related to the real estate market. So we'll take your live phone calls straight ahead, 801-575-TALK.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning about your home's true value in just 30 seconds, go ahead and visit sternteam.com to find out more.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, fire crews in Kane County worked through the night to extinguish a wildfire near the Arizona state line. The flames affected some power poles and a number of homes were without power through the night. Officials are investigating that fire, believed to be human-caused. Utahns will be able to rappel down the 18-story Hilton Salt Lake City Hotel to raise money for refugees. The development director for Lifting Hands International, Jessica Arch, says they wanted to find a way to raise money the Utah way.
So as we were thinking about that, we were like, it's the Utah way to help refugees, and it's the Utah way to be adventurous outdoors.
And participants can reserve a spot to rappel down the hotel by donating $100. They'll need to reach a $600 fundraising goal with the help of friends, family, and Lifting Hands. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden expected to sign an executive order establishing new caps on daily asylum claims between ports of entry along the U.S.-Mexico border. Republicans rejecting the president's move, saying it's motivated by his poor polling on that issue. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average and the NASDAQ both down just a bit today. And our KSL weather looks like it's going to get hot later this week. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things that I've loved with Salt Lake City Fat Loss is how easy it is to follow their plan. The way they boil it down and hold your hand through the entire process is fantastic. It's the reason I decided to go with them is because they said, we have a plan that you can lose up to a pound of fat a day. I thought that sounded super optimistic, but sure enough, that's exactly what I saw. 57 pounds is what I lost in 60 days, and I felt great. It was truly a transformation, and I did it safely, without surgery, without injections. I know those are two viable ways to do it, but this plan right here is no surgery, no injections, no prepaid or pre-planned meals. You don't have to buy their food. They teach you how to cook and how to eat healthily, and it's awesome. Just try them out. Give them a visit to their website, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com. You can schedule that free consultation with Salt Lake City Fat Loss. Again, you get $200 off if you use my name. Just go to slcfatloss.com.
With big tech coming after our kids,
the inflow of illegal drugs coming to our state.
For Attorney General, we need someone we can trust to do the right thing for the right reason.
That's Derek Brown.
Derek fought to protect kids on social media.
He'll defend the Second Amendment.
Stand up to Biden when he tries to take our lands.
Derek Brown will fight to secure the border.
And that's the kind of leadership we really need.
We trust Derek Brown for Attorney General.
I'm supporting Derek Brown.
Paid for by Derek Brown for Attorney General.
Hey, have you saved more than $200,000 in an IRA or 401k? You may not realize it now, but you've got a big problem on your hands. And that problem is taxes. Because if you don't take advantage of some tax planning strategies now, Uncle Sam could take a big chunk of your hard-earned retirement savings. Learn how you could reduce the taxes on your IRA and 401k with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from Boss Retirement Solutions. If you've saved more than $200,000, schedule your free tax strategy session now by calling 801-896-9622. Discover the tax planning strategies that could dramatically reduce your taxes in retirement. Call 801-896-9622. That's 801-896-9622.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors, an SEC registered investment advisory firm. Insurance products and services offered through Boss Retirement Solutions.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
We've got debris on the roadway. This is northbound I-15 right near 143rd South in Bluffdale as you come over the point of the mountain. Scattered across all lanes of travel, and the lanes are very slow and backing up quickly toward Utah County. As you continue northbound into Davis County, you're going to hit a wall of traffic just after Glover Lane in Farmington, and that extends all the way up to Shepherd Lane at the overpass, where there's a crash that's been blocking the HOV lane, and other emergency vehicles were blocking center lanes for a while as well, so that's keeping traffic there at a crawl. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 79, warming tomorrow to 89. Thursday and Friday will be hot with highs in the upper 90s. And right now we're at 70 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Priced Out, Housing, Special Coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
We're so grateful to the Stern team. Sometimes they're on the show with us, walking us through the situation in the real estate market. And even when they're not with us, we talk about important topics related to home buying and selling. And this one caught our attention in the Washington Post, that more and more parents are stepping in as the bank of mom and dad to help their kids get into their first home.
And I get it. I understand. I remember how hard it was to bring that money together. We got some help from our parents as well. So I've been there. I know what you're talking about. But it's a real difficulty right now with the cost of homes, how much it costs to close, how much the down payment is. This is a much different world that we live in, trying to help our kids out buying a home versus us.
And interest rates have really soared, which takes away the buying power. So if your house payment was $1,800 a month with a 3% interest rate, and the interest rate you're locked in at right now is over 7%, well, it more than doubles. Your house payment just is just out of control. So what's happening here, according to the Washington Post, is a number of options. Either it's a gift that parents are giving their child, maybe $1,700 to $1,000 or so, to get into that first home, or they're co-signing. That's not the option that I love, because I think you start entangling yourself in legal contracts with family members. It doesn't matter how much you love each other. Those go sideways, and when they go sideways, it destroys families. Like the whole family reunion for the rest of your life is called off. It gets ugly. So, or, here's another option. Do nothing or let your kid live with you. a lot of kids, according to this article, are just staying with mom and dad, or 20% of young adults have said their parents are helping them with rent or mortgage payments. So you're paying anyway, or you're being asked to pay anyway.
The problem with the house, though, is you've got to come up with a big chunk of cash up front. So if you're going to help them with closing costs or a down payment, you're talking about thousands of dollars. If they're living in your basement, or maybe you're helping subsidize their rent, a few $100s a month, that's a totally different experience than trying to come up with a big chunk of cash right up front so they can go in. And then what happens if you have a couple kids? Do you have the ability to do that over and over and over again?
Yeah, you're right. Who's your favorite? That's how you do that.
Well, and what happens, it's usually first through the wall. Like, whoever it is, the first kid, you can do it pretty easily. But then when it's the second or third or fourth kid, well, maybe that wiggle room's gone.
You're also sterilizing the first child's baby bottles. But by the third, you're picking it up off the floor. You know what I mean? Like, nobody saw this. 2-second rule. 2-second rule.
Have a bottle full of E. coli. I don't care.
801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. At my house, the Bank of Mom is always open. The Bank of Mom is always open. But at Dave's house, he's washing his hands of his kiddos. Well, whose team you on? Hi, Jake. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for taking my call again.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. What do you think?
Yeah. So, being actually younger and having gotten my first home with my wife just about 2 years ago, there's stuff that I learned that I thought would be useful for this discussion.
Sure.
First being that by co-signing, you actually limit the amount of programs that your child can be open to, because believe it or not, there's programs that if they just list one person that has one salary and it's a first-time home buyer, first-time home buyers normally get more program options and can sometimes do what's called buy better interest rates. But when you co-sign, you have to include the second person's income, which then makes them ineligible for those better payment programs. And I would also add, just aside from that point, is that with that risk, I don't think that there's a significant number of parents who don't care about their credit and their banking and their ratings, because by also co-signing, if the loan is ever defaulted, not only is the child hit with it, regardless of the contract, but you as a co-signer will get hit hard. And I don't think a significant number of parents are so engrossed in money that they don't care about their credit score.
I would agree.
And
Yeah,
it's a huge risk.
You're going down with the financial ship if your adult child stops making the payments. That's a scary spot to be. Your credit gets ruined too. Thanks for your call, Jake. Always great to talk to you.
Let's go to Dave in Utah County. What do you think, Dave?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great.
And I heard a few minutes of your show. Hopefully I'm not repeating anything somebody else has already said.
I do that all day long, Dave. I just repeat myself until somebody accepts that I'm right. So go for it.
Okay.
So fun to have you.
First and foremost, something I haven't heard mentioned is written contracts, maintain good relationships.
Okay.
So if you're going to do something like this with your kids, and I've got 6 kids and I've done it with all of them, get written signed contracts so when questions come up, the answers are in the written contract.
There you go.
Second thing is there's another way I'm not hearing you talk about, and that is to find a ratty old rundown property, co-sign a construction loan with your kids. Once the home's fixed up, they should have enough equity in it if you've bought it right to be able to get the mortgage, the long-term mortgage, on their own without you co-signing. And as the last gentleman just talked about, co-signing is a huge risk.
Yeah. I would run from that opportunity if it was presented to me as a co-signer. Great. Hey, Dave, hold the line. We're going to grab your phone number. Our producer, Caitlin, is going to jump on the line. Or maybe it's our producer, Mitch, who's going to jump on the line. We got a couple of producers today, so it's fun to have you on the show. Thanks, Dave.
That's a great suggestion. I hadn't thought about that of finding a fixer-upper and then co-signing just to the construction loan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fixer-upper kind of stuff. That's a much smaller loan. And then once that's done, then you can get your 30-year mortgage. Those are some great solutions.
I want to
Dave,
learn more about that.
nice job.
I want to learn more about that.
And
Dave,
Jake scared me away from co-signing, for sure.
Good job, Jake. It's fun to talk to him. He's our 20-something-year-old homeowner. He's the responsible one on the show. So we always appreciate Jake's phone call. I think he's our 20-year-old. You'll have to call back another day, Jake. Make sure I got your age right. Utah Housing Corp is the name of the website, Dave, that you talked about just a few minutes ago, where you can go to get that $20,000. It's like a loan grant. It's repayable if you refinance the house or you sell it down the road, but that is a loan from the state of Utah. The legislature set aside a multi-million-dollar pot of money for first-time home buyers to qualify for this loan.
Yeah, it was $50 million, and then they liked it so much, I think they threw another $50 million at it again this year. The problem is it is for new construction under $450,000.
You're always such a Debbie Downer. The problem is... hey, go check it out, though, right? And thanks again to the Stern team. Love working with you. I look forward to the next time you're in studio with us. Make sure you go learn your home's true value. You can learn it in 30 seconds. All you have to do is visit sternteam.com to find out more.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Progressive presents good news, bad news, dumb news, then great news. Good news. Your coworker Kyle said bundling home and auto insurance with Progressive could save you money. Bad news. While saying this, Kyle was eating your clearly labeled lunch. Dumb news. Pizza near work costs $7 a slice, and it tastes like drywall covered in ketchup. Great news. You decide to see if you could save money bundling at Progressive.com and enjoy more lunches far away from Kyle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
This week's movie show is brought to you by My Hearing Centers. Schedule a hearing evaluation and be entered into a contest to win a set of premium hearing aids by tuning in Friday from 10 to 1.
This joyful sound is the No More Chemo bell at Intermountain Health St. George Hospital. And it means that Sarah Parker beat cancer. It also means her doctor spotted it early enough to treat, and that her oncologist helped her fight it every step of the way. It means that her nurse helped her keep track of medicines, and that a case manager made the whole experience just a little bit easier. Every time we hear that bell, it reminds us that all things are possible when we work together. It reminds us of the power of we. Intermountain Health.
Everyone's house is different, but they're all the same in one way. We've all got those places where the Wi-Fi just won't go. For you, maybe it's the attic. For me, it's my basement. Well, if you had wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you could worry less about these dead spots. Finally. With wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity, you get fast speeds throughout your home, reliable connection in every room, and power for all of your devices, even when everyone is online. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through June 21st, new customers can get started with gig speed internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and free Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract. Go to Xfinity.com. Call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY. Or visit a store today.
Paid for by Lyman for Utah.
Governor Cox has presided over the worst collapse in housing affordability in Utah's history. Using taxpayer dollars to subsidize large developers is not the answer. If we don't fix this now, our biggest export will become Utahns. As governor, I have a plan to improve supply chains and permitting, to reduce government spending, which drives high inflation and interest rates, and to create a fair property tax system. I'm Phil Lyman, and I'm running for governor.
Phil Lyman,
for governor.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, one of the men who got in a fight following a road rage incident in Lehi has died. The other now booked into jail. Second, fire crews in Kanab have gotten ahead of a wildfire that knocked out power to part of the town. And third, China has landed a robot spacecraft on the moon, and it's now lifted off to bring its samples back to Earth. 70 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Jay Evenson, the opinion editor of the Deseret News, asked this question. Would you get on a giant drone with no pilot? You and I talked about the Veriports that are going to land across Utah just a couple of weeks ago, Dave, and we're going to air taxi our way with these pilotless drone type things. Instead of Ubering through traffic, we'll be in the air.
In fact, we may see some of these for the Olympics in L.A. in 2028. So if you think this is just the Jetsons, and pie in the sky, this will never happen, there are active plans right now to make this thing happen.
In fact, we talked to Paul Damron. Jay, we're going to bring you in on the conversation. Jay Evenson in studio with us. When we were out live a couple of weeks ago at Utah Lake during our broadcast, Paul, who works for UDOT, called the show to talk about this pilot program for pilotless aircraft.
In the future, you can envision flying into, let's say, Salt Lake International, and you want to get home, and let's say you live in Vineyard or maybe even Spanish Fork, or even, up north in Layton or something. You can for sure get on one of these air taxis, and it'll get you to where you need to be.
Jay, what do you think? How adventurous are we?
Well, that's the question I ask. But things change, and we've become used to things. Honestly, as I've looked at this, I think it's more dangerous to be in a self-driving car, probably, than to be in one of these flying machines, because there are more things you can run into down on the ground than there are once you clear the trees. I think you're pretty good to go.
So you write that I can't find any opinion polls about public confidence in pilotless aircraft, but I found some about driverless cars, and the news is not good. A AAA survey in March found that 66% of Americans are afraid of the technology, another 25% uncertain.
Yeah, I mean, there is something kind of scary about being up in the air and you don't have a pilot in charge. I mean, if something goes wrong, you like to at least, and people make the argument that, well, a lot of our commercial flights pretty much fly themselves. You have, autopilot, but you do have a pilot and co-pilot there in case something goes wrong, right? So how do you feel about being in a flying machine without a pilot?
So can I just say the times I've been in helicopters and every time I've flown for Channel 5 and Chopper 5, everything's been fine. Perfect. They've been amazing flights. These are other flights I've had to take in helicopters when I was a news reporter at a different station. The only question when something starts to go wrong that you ask the pilot, at least that I ask the pilot, is, am I going to die? So, the only answer you're going to get from that pilot is, no.
You're going to be fine.
You're going to be fine. So I would say, though, as many times as I've been in chopper rides over the years, it's a lot. I'm fine. I don't need to go on another one. I'm not sure I would be first in line to get my golden ticket for a pilotless drone flight.
The good thing about having a pilot is that he's got some skin in the game, right? So he's going to do everything he can to keep you from crashing because he doesn't want to crash too. And I've read things online. So, okay, yes, this is the future and it's coming. And Dubai has plans to begin air taxis in 2026. So that's not very far down the road. That's less than 2 years. So this is coming. There are proposals out there to have some of these being flown kind of by remote control. So you would have a kind of an FAA kind of a situation with air traffic controllers who are actually can take over the reins of your machine and make sure you land okay. And then the next step would be the totally autonomous vehicles. But, we already have cargo being shipped and items like that here in Utah. There's a company called Zipline, and they actually operate in South Jordan, Debbie, and they will deliver medicines and this kind of thing. I got on there and I signed up and I was all excited to get it, and I got an email saying that they couldn't deliver to my house. It's probably because I have big trees or something that they can't navigate around. But this is already happening in our area. So we just need to make that leap from cargo to human beings.
That's like a huge leap.
I know, but I look at what's going on right now, and I know there's a hesitation when it comes to autonomous vehicles. Trust me, the worst drivers out there are not the computers, it's us. We're the ones that are the bad, impatient drivers. The computers are not. If you program the computer and say, you have to follow the speed limit exactly, and everybody is driving 55 and 65 and 80, but never 90 or 100, that is a safer environment. And I think the problem and the danger is always the user error. It's the human. It's not the computer.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. So what we really do need, however, is some kind of a national strategy, because you're going to need changes in how air traffic control is handled. And I mean, these can't be just like Roombas in the sky that are, bouncing off of things, trying to avoid other objects.
I hate to, this is true. The Roomba that I had, it was a knockoff. You don't buy a knockoff. I mean, bought a knockoff, and the thing kept falling down the stairs. If that's what ends up happening with these taxis.
Your drunk Roomba knockoff, okay.
Yeah, well, there's also no lanes up in the sky, and there's also backyards to peer into, and that there's a lot to be said about, what's the air traffic going to look like over my house as people are Ubering in the sky back and forth.
And there's one word that we don't want to talk about, but it's there, and that's hackers. Hackers are getting into all things computer, and I worry about them with autonomous cars, and we should worry about them with autonomous flying machines as well.
The one nice thing about the vertiport proposal is it is point A to point B flying. So it wouldn't be a big question mark of people flying all over the place, kind of like our Ubers. It would be from point A to point B. Air traffic controllers could plan for that. They could track that easily. The problem with cars is they can drive anywhere at any time, so there's a lot of question marks. But I think the vertiport idea of just going from one spot to another, very clear, that takes away some of those questions of, well, won't it just be chaos in the air? No, it'll be organized. To your point that we need a national plan or at least a statewide plan.
Also, we need to make sure these are somehow affordable. And I talked to former Congressman Chris Stewart, who's heavily involved in this. He's a pilot himself. And he says we need to make sure we can do this to scale. And that really is a question. You don't want this just to be for the uber rich, Uber, I guess, pun intended. But people envision this replacing taxis. So you walk down the street and there'd be a vertiport. You use your little phone and you summon up a drone that comes down and picks you up and takes you where you need to go. That's the brave new future.
Yeah. Well, and if it's not accessible close to my house, I don't know how willingly I would be willing to drive over there, park the car, get in the machine, and then head over to wherever I'm going.
Well, wherever you go,
it
has to be a vertiport where you want to go as well. So
that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Jay Evenson, thank you for joining us. Would you get on a giant drone with no pilot? That's what his latest article in the Deseret News says. Great article, great conversation. Thanks, Jay.
Jay, yes or no? Would you?
I think I would. Yeah, I think I would.
We've talked you into it.
You bet. Once, anyway.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Always appreciate it. Straight ahead, we just got an announcement across the news feeds that President Biden just signed an executive order. It'll effectively suspend the asylum process, asylum seekers at the southern border. Boyd Matheson has been looking into this, and he is going to join us in about 5 minutes and bring us up to date, up to speed on what's going on at the southern border with that. Boyd, walking into studio. He's straight ahead.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Jurors who sentenced Chad Daybell to death are speaking out now. An alternate juror, Lori Horn, says in spite of some testimony that was hard to hear, in the end, they had no trouble finding Chad Daybell guilty, as well as imposing the death penalty.
The judge made it easier for us with his instructions. They were very specific, so they were able to answer little detailed questions. And at the end, if you've said yes to all of these things, then here's your verdict.
Horn says in spite of some unknowns, she believes jurors got what they needed from the witnesses on the stand during the trial. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Here in Utah, we're used to bald eagles nesting around the Great Salt Lake, but they've been rare in other parts of the country. There was just one nesting pair in Cumberland County, New Jersey back in the 80s, and now there are about 260 across the state. Eagles have been removed from the federal endangered species list, and now they're off New Jersey's list as well. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average just barely up on the day, the NASDAQ just barely down. And our KSL weather looks like the heat is on the way. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
When you're getting a new roof installed, you don't want to wonder, when are they going to be done? Or even worse, what are they doing up there? You'll never have to ask when you hire IWC Roofing, because their team of certified installers will be texting you pictures from the roof. You're going to know exactly what's going on and what you're getting for your money. And on most homes, they'll do the entire job in one day. In, out, cleaned up, and they'll even power wash your driveway just to say thank you. Now, you think you'd pay a premium for this level of service, but IWC does so many roofs. They get the material for less, and they pass the savings on to you. IWC is an Owens Corning certified platinum contractor. Of course, financing is available. Even better, their summer special, up to $2,000 off your quote. But you have to make the call. $2,000 off right now. Call IWC Roofing, 801-232-5690. That's 801-232-5690. Or go to IWCRoofingUtah.com.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
Put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
With the three things, taking a look at traffic and weather together now, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We still have some leftover slowing northbound on Legacy going from Centerville up to Farmington. That's due to road work. But the crash that we had on northbound I-15 in Farmington has cleared, and the debris on northbound I-15 in Draper has been cleared, and those delays are easing as well. Experience For You banking today at your local Zions Bank branch, or visit zionsbank.com/foryou to learn more. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., member FDIC. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 79, warming tomorrow to 89, and then Thursday and Friday will be hot with highs in the upper 90s. And right now, 70 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
Boyd Matheson in studio with us on the heels of this announcement it happened just moments ago that President Biden has signed an executive order which will extensively tighten border security down at the southern border, Dave.
Can I give a little bit of an eye roll? And this is why I'm going to give the eye roll. Not that I don't think something needs to be done at the southern border. Of course there does. There needs to be something done. But you're telling me we don't have the appropriate laws in place already? That if we just enforce those laws, that's not the solution? That we need another executive order to control this? Boyd Matheson joining us right now. Boyd, there we go. Put another one on the books.
It's along with it's an executive order, and so let's remember that what gets done by executive order will be undone by executive order. It won't last through administrations because it never does. This is the absolute worst way to govern. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Now the president's going to take to the podium about an hour from now and explain what he has done. But everything that we've seen in terms of the action that he's taken is so interesting. If you go back to 2020. And the debate between then candidate Joe Biden and then President Donald Trump, Joe Biden went after the former president for this very thing, verbatim, and said this is inhuman. He's the first president in history to limit the number of people or the rules by which people can seek asylum in this country, and completely lambasted the president for that policy. Now, let's also remember that this very same policy that President Biden is enacting by executive order today was judged to be unconstitutional by the courts. And so President Trump implemented it by executive order. The court said, you can't do that, and it ended. And President Biden has been critical all along, and suddenly he's seen the light and said, no, we're gonna shut it down right now in terms of asylum. And so there is a great deal of hypocrisy and 2024 campaign wrapped up into what the president has announced today.
I think some people who are listening might be a little bit unfamiliar with what this executive order says. So let's dive into some of those details. We haven't touched on those yet. It essentially sounds like, according to NBC News, New York Times, and other sources that I've been reading, is that this executive order will temporarily shut down asylum requests once the average number of daily encounters gets over 2,500. Let's talk about that. What does that look like on the ground at the southern border?
So this is a complete shutdown. So this is not allowing anyone for any reason, even a great reason, will not be able to claim asylum by just walking over the border.
See, I think that's huge.
It's a big deal. And then there's kind of this interesting window. If it gets down to about 1,500 a day, then the president can turn it back off. And they can allow some people in. If it gets over that 1,500 to 2,500 range, then it's a complete shutdown for any and every reason.
Which sounds arbitrary. Why 1,500?
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds like a lot of encounters for Border Patrol.
Yeah, so interesting. If you look at those over the last 3 years of the Biden administration, over 8 million of those have happened over the last 3 years. So the president's been really struggling in this space, and he's getting hammered today from the left as well as from the right for taking this executive action. In fact, it was interesting. Chuck Schumer has been on the floor of the Senate for years criticizing anything as it relates to asylum. And now the president is doing the very thing that Senator Schumer has said, that's inhumane, that's un-American, that's not how we roll. And so it's very interesting. There's a lot of folks that are not happy with the president today. And again, the sad part of it is there's a lot of hypocrisy built into this that just looks like posturing for a campaign year. And it doesn't. The worst thing is this: is it creates more uncertainty at the border. And it goes all the way back to Dave's point that look, Congress needs to do this. Congress needs to do this. And then there will be certainty in the process, and then we can have more accountability in the application and actually holding up the laws. Dave described it.
And if you were talking to any American and we were talking about asylum, if you're leaving a truly dangerous situation where you are unsafe, then I think there's a lot of compassion in this nation over true asylum seekers. The problem is there are loopholes. And now everybody is an asylum seeker, and they go to the top of the line, and they've learned to abuse the system. But instead of addressing that, again, we're just trying to do this broad brushstroke of here's the number of asylum seekers we will allow. And again, this is just, we're not really addressing the issue.
Yeah, this is keeping us a very safe distance from actually addressing the issue, which is the real problem in this, because we know currently, because of those loopholes that you described, Dave, that people who come in, claim that asylum, their court date is years into the future. That's not fair to them. If they truly are seeking asylum, that means they're going to be in uncertainty and an unclear status for years. And if they're trying to beat the system, they're long gone before any kind of court hearing was ever going to be had.
So I know you said the president is speaking in the next hour, right? He'll be addressing the nation, which means like 3 hours from now on Biden Standard Time. But I'm reading on NBC News that senior administration officials, which is a pretty standard procedure, did hold a call with news reporters. And they said that individuals who cross the southern border unlawfully or without authorization will generally be ineligible for asylum, absent exceptionally compelling circumstances. So they're definitely, they're closing the border.
Yeah.
They're closing the border, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are we still going to see video from, News Nation or Fox News or CNN of people coming across the border?
Yes.
But will they be able to cross at all?
Well, they
I guess
will.
we don't know.
All the illegal crossings will continue to happen illegally.
Yes. But people who feel like they're going to be, crossing the border and being granted asylum,
right?
That's what's being shut down.
Right. And remember that a lot of those, we don't know what the number is specifically. Again, there are some of these compassionate cases of people who really are in danger and in fear, and they should be granted asylum. And then you have those who are being kind of shepherded across the border by the cartels and the drug traffickers and the human traffickers who know what to say. So they're still going to come across those border places illegally, and they'll still try to claim asylum. And then those folks will be sent back. That's kind of how that will play out.
And if the courts rejected basically the exact same thing from Donald Trump, how long is it going to take to reject this move from President Biden?
Yeah, my guess is there'll be something filed before the ink dries and the sun sets in terms of working that way through the court. But it will take time. It always does. But I think this will be one more case where it will be, no, this is not the right way to do this. This is not the process that's supposed to be followed. And it will be one more call for Congress to step up and do their job. And again, that is the most compassionate thing we can do, is to get certainty to the process and then to enable those law enforcement and those agents at the border the tools they need to actually do the job in a way that is compassionate and humane. Because we have to remember the fake fights in all of this. I mean, I've got pages from both Democrats and Republicans already raising money off of this for their campaigns.
Oh, Boyd.
And we have to remember the most important principle of the day is that rule of law and compassion are compatible principles in this country. And we should have compassion for those true asylum seekers. We can't do it by executive order. Congress has to do the job.
Boyd Matheson, thank you. Inside Source today starts at 1.
Next, we return to the big story of the day. We had 2 separate road rage incidents, one in Lehi, one in Clearfield. Separate incidents, 2 men dead. We're going to speak in just a few minutes to a family member of a man who died in the road rage incident in Lehi.
I instantly started running towards the main road. I saw a guy laying down, blood coming out of his mouth. Looked like he was unconscious.
We'll tell you what led up to both straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I want to take a minute and talk to those of you that love to do, particularly this time of year as things have warmed up and I think we can officially call it summertime. You are concerned that you might not be able to do the things you love outdoors that are usually of a more physical nature because you've had some joint pain, a shoulder or a hip or a back that's been bugging you, and you don't like the idea of surgery and the downtime that comes along with it, or the idea of taking drugs for it. QC Kinetics has arrived in Utah, non-surgical joint pain relief that has helped so many people in the country, and now they can help you too. Their advanced treatments harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue, and they've got locations all over the valley to help you. Mill Creek, Provo, and Bountiful. They're under the direction of a former orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, who has been in this business now for over 20 years. Call the number and get a free consultation. 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. QC Kinetics.
And suddenly,
we watch temperatures start their climb.
It's summer.
Better chances for 90-degree days.
Get a reliable KSL forecast and the latest road and construction delays. With traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s. Mornings and afternoons, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Paid for by government.com. Have you heard? A recent stash of 1902 Morgan silver dollar coins has been found. These gorgeous 1902 silver dollar coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 300 of these Morgan silver dollars are available. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone interested in silver coins. Just call government at 1-800-806-1641, and you are guaranteed a mint condition 1902 Morgan silver dollar, featuring the iconic old mint mark of the New Orleans Mint. But with limited quantity, you must call now. These 1902 silver coins are still in uncirculated condition. That is 122 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-806-1641. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $25 value free with every order. Call 1-800-806-1641 now to secure your 1902 Morgan silver dollars before they sell out. That's 1-800-806-1641.
Summer is finally here, and it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Clean before your barbecues, graduation parties, family reunions, and gatherings that you're hosting to make your guests feel right at home. Call the cleaning pros at Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at just $99. Plus, the 4th room free, and take 20% off your air ducts cleaning. You owe it to yourself, your health, and your home. Schedule your appointment at ZeroRes.com or call 801-288-9376 and ask for the KSL special. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean. Zero Res.
I'm Frank Myler, candidate for Utah State Attorney General, and I approve this ad.
Utah needs an AG who knows the criminal justice system and will fight crime on day one. There is no time for a huge learning curve. The AG is the chief law enforcement officer of the state. I am the only candidate who has prosecuted criminals. I am ready to hit the ground running fighting crime. Vote for me, Frank Myler, for Utah Attorney General. This ad paid for by the committee to elect Frank Myler Attorney General.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
My friends at Dave's Bernina in St. George and Provo are having a big spring sale, so you can get her the sewing machine that she dreams of. Featuring for a limited time, 2.99% finance offer for 60 months on certain machines.
And did you know that magic is coming? The top of the line, all new Bernina 990. Come in for exciting special pre-order offers.
Hurry in for amazing bargains on trade-ins, classroom, and demo machines that come with warranties.
Many models on display, from Burnett to Bernina 435, 735, and 475 Cape machines. Even the Bernina 790 Pro, while they last. And this week only, discounts on Bernina accessories and hoops.
Whether it's for mom, sister, daughter, or the new graduate, the perfect gift for her is at Dave's Bernina.
This is the savings event for you.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, some of the jurors in the Chad Daybell trial are telling their stories now. Second, President Biden has signed an executive order limiting daily asylum petitions at the border with Mexico. And third, Ticketmaster dealing with a data breach involving millions of its customers. 70 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
In just a few minutes, we're going to speak to a family member of a man by the name of Michael Brown, 38 years old, a father. Two young sons witnessed the final moments of his life when he was punched in the head after a road rage incident escalated. That was one incident in Lehi. We have yet another totally separate and unrelated incident of a road rage death. It appears to be related to road rage in Clearfield, Dave.
And I think this is such an important topic because we have all been there. There's not one of us that hasn't cut somebody off or been frustrated when somebody cuts us off or merges without using their blinker and they brake check us. This is happening every single day. Of course it is. We have to address what our response is. And I don't think we're doing a good enough job of talking about how to cope with some of these things.
Yeah, just calm down. Calm down. The situation in Clearfield, far different than what happened in Lehi. So in Clearfield, I want to just touch on that for a moment. It appears there was some sort of an accident when one of the drivers left the scene, and then the other driver took off behind him and followed him around. He was on with 911 too. The driver and the trailing vehicle, the tailing vehicle, was on with 911, and then a 60-year-old man stops his car, gets out of the car, and then walks back to the car of the younger driver, and that's when the shooting occurs. And it's a 60-year-old man who's dead in that situation. Then we have a separate incident that happened on Sunday in Lehi, and that's one that involves his 38-year-old father. Sons were in the car, 8 and 10-year-old sons. And there's an incident that happens, on the road, and then he's tailed into a neighborhood, gets out of the car, and it goes to blows. And Michael takes one in the head, according to what we've heard from police and from witnesses, and he died. He died as a result of this.
Which is so shocking because whenever we think about deaths in road rage incidents, I think it had to have involved a gun, right? A fist fight's not going to do it, right? Like that's so common. It happens all the time. There's no way a fist fight can turn into somebody's death, right? And this is a perfect example of you never know what your punch could do, or if you get knocked down, you hit your head, it can just be the most catastrophic of results.
The man accused of throwing the punch was taken to jail. Greg Skordas, you know him as our legal analyst here at KSL. You've also been retained as the spokesperson for the family of Michael Brown, who's the victim here, who passed away. So we're speaking to you more, well, in that capacity. But this is absolutely tragic. I saw a picture of Michael, posted it to my Facebook page. Looks like he's alongside his wife there, and now she's a widow, and 2 little boys are fatherless.
Yeah, beautiful family, Debbie. Been married for 19 years. 10 and 8-year-old boys who unfortunately were both in the car at the time of the incident. A hardworking guy, family man, and he's got extended family who have just been wonderful and wonderfully supportive of his now widow and children. It's really been, if there's any good that you can imagine out of something so horrible, it's just that the family has rallied around, and they're, by all accounts, just a really wonderful family.
Greg, so often when we talk about these kind of aggressive road rage incidents and how quickly it can escalate, the state of Utah has tried to do some things about it. But can you just walk us through, maybe legally speaking, obviously de-escalation key above all, but what are the punishments for road rage?
Yeah, and it depends really on the outcome. In this case, I believe that it's being investigated right now as a homicide. We have been in touch with law enforcement. Whether or not they end up taking it to that extent remains to be seen. Of course, the Utah County Attorney's Office will ultimately weigh in on what, if any, charges are filed. But in any case where there is a confrontation between individuals and one party ends up deceased, police investigate that as a homicide, as they should, and as they almost have to. And we'll see where that investigation ends up. But right now, law enforcement isn't telling us a lot, except that they're working on the case. They've been very supportive so far, but haven't been able to share anything about the details of their investigation.
When we look at data from road rage incidents, it would appear that most of them happen between the hours of 5 and 7 p.m., afternoon commute hours. You're on your way home after work, during the week. But this one is unusual, Greg, in that when it comes to statistics anyways, in that it happens on a Sunday. Can you give us some sort of indication about what was going on in the moment, where Michael was going, where he was coming from?
I can't, and we don't know a whole lot about the details of it. We do know that he had his boys in the car at the time, and that he lives at Eagle Mountain, so it happened in Lehi, so not far from home. And, just the confrontation took place. The family only knows that it ended up with fisticuffs and ended just as badly as you could imagine. But we don't know too much about the details leading up to the incident yet, Debbie.
We have a little bit from the witnesses, or a witness, Debbie Worthen from KSL 5 Television, was able to talk to somebody that was there. And I want to play a little bit of how he described it for you, Greg.
I think like the moment that I saw the children's face, I think that was just like life-changing for me and kind of just put everything in a different perspective.
Jace had a hard time sleeping after seeing the scene.
I think both of the men were at wrong and at fault for what had happened, and they both fought, but it's the children that witnessed that and are seeing their father lying on the ground. I wish that on nobody.
So, Greg, as the police is investigating this, what are some of the things that they are looking for? This witness says, I think both guys were in the wrong, even though, one paid the ultimate price. What are some of the things that the police will be looking at?
Yeah, that's a great question. They'll be looking at the conduct of both individuals, and they'll be looking at the relative conduct. And, of course, if people are in combating and one person is defending themselves, I think the police will be looking at whether or not there's a self-defense argument here, or whether or not one party just went much further than they should have under the circumstances. So, yeah, we'll let the law enforcement do their investigation and let them finish that. But I think everything is on the table here, from no charges at all up to negligent homicide, or perhaps even something like a manslaughter.
What I think about is how quickly lives have changed. I mean,
Yeah,
Greg, just think, forever. These two little boys, a father lost his life, and now there's a man waiting to find out if he's going to face homicide charges that could have put him away for a long time, Greg.
Yeah, and his life will change forever too, no matter what the consequences. Just having to live with the realization that you caused something like this. I mean, it's got to be horrible for everybody. And I think two families are going to have just going to suffer for a very long time.
Greg Skordas, thank you for joining our KSL legal analyst.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Dave?
It's such a sad situation. Mm-hmm. It's hard to even be objective about this, because I think we can all put ourselves in this family's shoes. Hey, you know, losing a father, the children, the widow, but also we've all been there. We've all road raged on some level, whether it's aggressive driving or brake checking or doing something and letting things escalate. We've all been there. So I think the reason this resonates and this hits so close to home is I think we can put ourselves into these shoes of probably both of these men, and to remind ourselves that this is why we have to discuss it and talk about it and teach it in schools from driver's ed on up, about the importance of calming down, avoiding retaliation.
Speaking of walking in those shoes, we've all been in that situation, but nobody more so today than the family of Michael Brown. His sister-in-law is going to join the show in just a few moments. We found out earlier this morning when we were reporting on that we here at Broadcast House have a connection to his sister-in-law. She works with us, and she is in studio. Cindy Brown will be joining us in just the next few minutes to fill us in on more details about what led up to this horrible situation on Sunday that took the life of her brother-in-law.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. A road rage incident in Clearfield yesterday left one man dead. Devin Rogers with Clearfield Police says two cars were involved in an accident. One fled the scene, the other chased after him.
One vehicle stopped in the middle of the roadway and got out and approached the other vehicle. Shooting occurred and left one individual deceased.
The alleged shooter now cooperating and in police custody. A man injured in a road rage incident in Lehi on Sunday has now died. Police say 38-year-old Michael Brown suffered a head injury when he and another man pulled into a neighborhood and got in a fist fight. The other driver has been booked into jail. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden has approved a series of executive actions meant to limit the number of people seeking asylum at the border with Mexico. If the number reaches 2,500 over 7 consecutive days, the president would then have legal authority to shut down entry. The White House says action by Congress is still needed to address immigration. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day 66 points. The NASDAQ is down 23. And our KSL weather, we're headed toward the 90s. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things that I kind of think about when the weather is changing or the wind comes in, like we've had that so much here in Utah, we have some pretty extreme weather, is we get some blackouts. Blackouts are more prevalent. It's why you may want to consider getting a standby generator.
Think about a family member who needs a medical device that can't afford to lose electricity, or you have a new EV, Dave, well, new used EV, but it's still an EV. You need some juice to make sure that thing is running so you can get to Broadcast House the next morning. This is where Master Electrical comes in, and you give them a call, and they come out and assess, and you buy your standby generator from them.
They're one of the premier dealers for Generac, and they not only sell the Generac standby generator, but they also service them, they install them, and the reason they do that is they want to make sure that all the installations are done in-house. They don't use a third party, That way they can maintain the highest standard for homeowners.
That's right. So make sure you give Master Electrical a call for your new standby generator. You've been talking about it for ages. You know you have. And you're just one blackout away from kicking yourself for not calling Master Electrical. And the great news here is they have financing that fits almost any budget.
Or check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating and, of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Family Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. It's time to get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data, and you get to choose who joins your family plan starting as low as $25 a line. Does it have to be family? It can be family or people you like.
Get more lines and more savings. Switch to Straight Talk for family plan starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Family plan discount with 4 lines, all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
I'm John Curtis. As a small businessman, I built gun ranges to help our law enforcement and our military. As mayor of Provo, I took aim at reducing waste, and we balanced our budget. In Congress, I've stood up to Biden and voted repeatedly against his reckless spending.
And when it comes to standing up to D.C. and protecting our land, John Curtis has done that too. He forced the federal government to transfer more land back to Utah than anyone in state history.
I'll never let D.C. bureaucrats or outsiders tell us how to manage our land.
And John Curtis is the only candidate China has threatened to arrest because John stands up to the communist aggression. And Curtis is fighting to secure our border and stop the cartel's deadly flow of drugs in our country.
I will always stand up for America and Utah. That's why I approve this message.
John Curtis, conservative Republican for U.S. Senate.
I'd be honored to have your support.
Paid for by John Curtis for Utah.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We had a stalled vehicle in Utah County northbound I-15 at about 4th South in the Springville area. It's now been loaded up on a tow truck, out of traffic on the right shoulder. In fact, we are looking at a good drive up and down the I-15 corridor between Willard Bay and Utah Lake. No problems on the rest of your valley freeways. Need a perfect event venue? There's a place. This is the place, Heritage Park. Ideal for weddings, events, featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. Call or visit thisistheplace.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a high of 79, warming tomorrow to 89. Thursday and Friday will be hot with highs in the upper 90s. And right now, 70 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
When we got word here this morning at Broadcast House that a man by the name of Michael Brown had passed away from injuries he sustained when he got punched as a road rage incident escalated in Lehi, we had no idea that we would have such a personal affiliation with the family. And it turns out his sister-in-law came down to studio earlier. She works with the Deseret News upstairs. She's the agency manager. Cindy Brown walked into studio and said, Michael was my brother-in-law. And we are just all so heartbroken about what happened in Lehi on Sunday.
And Cindy, thank you so much for joining us. I know the family just must be going through an awful time right now. But I think it's important so often when we talk about these news stories, sometimes we're a little bit separated from it, right? We don't know the stories and we don't hear the families. We know intellectually that the families are devastated, but to actually talk to your family, can you just help describe how everyone's doing right now? I mean,
Sure.
Utter devastation,
Sure.
obviously.
I think
no one ever thinks that this is going to happen in their family, right? And so when we got the call on Sunday, it was devastating. Mike is very dedicated to his children and his wife. He comes from a very large family. He has 9 brothers and sisters, and is not a violent person in any way. And so it's very difficult for the family to wrap their heads around, kind of how this escalated so quickly, and ultimately how it resulted in him passing on.
And his 8 and 10-year-old son were in the car when this was happening. Can you give us any details on how they're doing right now? And I'm sure they're just absolutely devastated.
I think the most important thing to remember is how Mike was dedicated to those 2 boys, and he would do anything to protect them. And we think that's what his thought process was as he was involved in this incident, that he just wanted to protect the boys. Fortunately, they were a witness to the entire scene. They were actually on their way to meet their mom for lunch, and then they were going to go to the Bees game because Michael coaches the boys in baseball, and they were going to be the team on the field that night. And instead, they ended up in a police station and having to recount what they saw, and it was terrible.
I think the escalation is what terrifies me so much about this, because Cindy, I've brake checked somebody before.
I think we all have.
I've cut somebody off. I've merged without. I've been distracted. All these things that would infuriate somebody, and I've had people do the same thing to me. Where you're yelling at me and flipping me off. We've all been there.
Sure.
But I think, as you were saying, no one thinks it can escalate to something like this, but this happens so often in this nation.
Yeah, I think that we've lost civility to some extent, and we've forgotten that we're all humans, and unfortunately, in this circumstance, Michael was trying to protect his boys and trying to get to Mandy and go on with their day, and I am certain that he didn't wake up thinking, today's the day I'm gonna say goodbye to my family, and so it is such a loss for us, because he was such a dedicated father. He was so committed to the boys. I don't know that I've seen many fathers spend as much time and effort with their children as Michael did, and so I'm sure they're going to feel his loss for a really long time.
We're speaking live right now with Cindy Brown. She works with us here at Broadcast House. She's the agency manager at the Deseret News. She's also the sister-in-law of 38-year-old Michael Brown, who lost his life. He took a blow to the head in a road rage incident. And it gets to the point, Cindy, where Michael and it sounds like the other driver got out of their cars. Mm-hmm. Do you know, or can you share with us what led up to this moment?
The only people that were really there were the 2 boys, right? And obviously they've given their statements to the police, and the witnesses that were at the scene have given their statements to the police. And we're so thankful for Lehi Police Department. They're doing an exceptional job in making sure that they dot all of their I's and cross all of their T's. What we know from the boys is that they were in a construction zone, and they had just laid gravel down on the road, and Michael was going slow because his car is new. And I don't know if you've had a new car, but you don't want to get rock chips, right? So I'm sure that's what happened. And he turned off to go into a neighborhood, and the other person followed him into the neighborhood. And that's where Michael was worried. He thought that he wasn't able to get away, and Michael got out of the car, and that's all we know. We really don't know a whole lot, because none of us were there. We only have what the boys say and what the witnesses in the neighborhood were able to witness. And so we're going to let the police do their investigation and come up with all of the evidence that they need, and we trust that they'll do the right thing.
As devastating and heartbreaking as this story is, there's a reality that is starting to set in now that the boys don't have their father. Financial concerns as well. I mean, all of this stuff starts playing in addition to all of the heartbreaking loss of just losing a loved one.
Yeah, it's hard to think about. I mean, he was 38 years old, so he's relatively young in his career, trying to support his family. Unfortunately, he was a contractor for a company and didn't have life insurance, so this is devastating for his wife. The financial consequences of this are going to be long lasting, And we've started a GoFundMe page for him and for the boys, because we know that his wife is going to need an amazing amount of support. And we live in a community that is so supportive, and we're so grateful for that. And our family's really rallied around her and tried to make sure that she has all of the support that she needs. Her parents came in from out of town, and she's got siblings that are flying in. So Mandy's surrounded by a whole family. We have a very large family that has grown up in this community, and so we feel really lucky for that.
In honor of your brother-in-law, Cindy, is there a message that you'd want to send to the rest of our community about road rage and calming down behind the wheel?
Yeah, I think we have to get back to civility, and anger is never the answer. It's a temporary emotion, and we've all been there. We all get frustrated, and it's hard right now, right? Because we're in an economy that's hard. Dollars are being stretched really thin in a lot of households, and so tempers can be very much at the surface. But I would say that when you're behind the wheel of a car and you have children involved, or even when you don't have children, that you remember that there's a family on the other side of whatever action you choose to take, that there's a family that's suffering now because we've lost our brother and someone that we loved very, very much. And so please just take a minute, take a breath.
Cindy Brown, thank you for joining us. So sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Is working with us here at Broadcast House with the Deseret News, but a heartbreaking story, and please, send our love to his wife and his boys.
Yeah, and
I will. Thank you.
Thank you for making sure we were aware. We didn't know of the connection until you walked in studio earlier today. That Michael Brown was your brother-in-law, and this has taught me a lot. And just sitting here and talking to you, it's not like I go out and road rage every day, but we all can have those moments. And I had one about 30 years ago, and I was so lucky the way it ended in my favor. We're going to talk about lessons learned here straight ahead. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
Transform your old, outdated kitchen with Half Price Granite. For a limited time, Half Price Granite is offering special pricing starting at $25 per square foot installed. That's lower than most big box stores. These prices are some of the lowest around. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, all starting at $25 per square foot installed. Call 801-486-1700 or visit halfpricegranite.com. Half Price Granite, affordable luxury.
Have you ever thought about what it would be like to sleep under the most magnificent blanket of stars? Picnic in the middle of gorgeous Red Rock, watching Tony Award-winning plays in a grand outdoor theater. Have you ever hiked through a legendary twisted forest, gazing from spectacular cliffside vistas, overlooking miles and miles of lush forested meadows? Or you should enjoy great museums, galleries, shops, or great dining, all in a special place, combining beauty and all the fun you can imagine. Put the you back in Utah, in Cedar City, Bryan Head, packed full of things you love. Live performances during the Shakespeare Festival, spectacular campsites and cozy cabins, plus hiking, biking, and ATV trails everywhere. Or tee up for 18 holes of year-round golf at Cedar Ridge Golf Course. Or enjoy a friendly game of disc golf at Thunderbird Gardens. Plan your adventure at Cedar City, Bryan Head, and get to know the you in Utah. Details at visitcedarcity.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Alpha Coffee is a veteran and woman co-owned coffee company with 2 locations in the Salt Lake City area. They're dedicated to giving back to veterans, the planet, and the community. Chief Coffee Officer Carl Churchill joins us with more.
13 years ago, my wife Lori and I founded Alpha Coffee in our basement as an online subscription service shipping amazing coffee to people's front doors. Then 7 years ago, we opened our first coffee shop at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon. We opened a second storefront in downtown Salt Lake City in 2022. We pride ourselves on providing an elevated customer experience, and both our locations are among the highest rated coffee shops in the area. Our menu features craft coffee, chai, and cocoa, as well as an extensive menu of breakfast and lunch items we make fresh or source from local bakers. We also commit 10% of profits to our Grounds for Good program. So far, we've donated over $100,000 to causes focused on veterans, the planet, women, and our community. And we've shipped 22,000 bags of coffee to deployed troops.
Whether you're looking for a cup of coffee or a bite to eat, Alpha Coffee has something for you. They also offer discounts to teachers, first responders, and veterans for their service to our community. Learn more at their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's had 2 fatalities related to road rage since the weekend. Second, President Biden has taken action to limit asylum claims at the U.S. southern border. Third, some Utah inmates will be earning certificates in horticulture at the prison's new greenhouses. 70 degrees, partly cloudy right now. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
And one of those 2 fatalities involving road rage that Dan Bomas was just referencing from our newsroom involved a man by the name of Michael Brown. He died, took a punch to the head, 38 years old. Kids were there on the scene in the car when he got out of the car, and he was confronted by another man after a road rage incident escalated. And we just spoke moments ago to his sister-in-law, Cindy Brown, who happens to work with us here at Broadcast House, Dave.
And there's still so much that we don't know about this. We're getting one side of it, but it is such a heartbreaking story because the 2 boys that are 10 years old and 8 years old, they were, their dad was their baseball coach. They were going to a Bees game later that night. They witnessed this happen.
They were going to be on the field that night.
Yeah, they were going to be honored as the team.
Yeah. Cindy mentioned that they're still trying to, unravel what happened, but they do know that they were driving through a construction zone and that it appears a man behind them followed Michael and his kids into the neighborhood.
He turned off to go into a neighborhood, and the other person followed him into the neighborhood, and that's where Michael was worried. He thought that he wasn't able to get away, and Michael got out of the car, and
then they get into a fist fight, according to Debbie Worthen with KSL Television had interviewed one of the witnesses. He said both guys were going at it. The witness, at least from their perspective, said they were both in the wrong. But nevertheless, when the devastating outcome of someone dying, the details of who's to blame is just such a regrettable incident. We have to be able to do better and figure out what is happening that's causing us to be so outraged.
Well, Cindy brought it up. She brought it up. We're under a lot of stress. We're under a lot of pressure. Financial pressures are growing. Maybe you had a really bad day at work, and then somebody does one little thing on the road, and you are taking your anger out on them. And that's how these things end so horribly. So now families are devastated. 2 families. The suspect who was, hauled off to jail, waiting to see if he'll be criminally charged. He will be criminally charged most likely, but what he'll be criminally charged with, is it, manslaughter, is it homicide? His life is totally different. Michael's life is no more. And his boys witnessed this. And Cindy said something in our discussion just a few moments ago with her that really stood out to me, because I'm going to categorize myself as a road rager 30 years ago. I was on the verge. I'm going to tell you what I did. And while I'll never do it again, especially after listening to Cindy's plea to our community to calm down and think about that person behind the wheel that you're now angry at. They have a family too.
We have to get back to civility. And anger is never the answer. It's a temporary emotion. And we've all been there. We all get frustrated. And it's hard right now, right? Because we're in an economy that's hard. Dollars are being stretched really thin in a lot of households. And so tempers can be very much at the surface. But I would say that when you're behind the wheel of a car and you have children involved, or even when you don't have children, that you remember that there's a family on the other side of whatever action you choose to take. That there's a family.
I saw that UDOT had a list of things to do. I'll share it here in a minute, Debbie, of what you can do if you find yourself in a road rage incident. But I want to hear your story.
It was the early 90s. I know, because I remember I was driving that red Saturn that I'd bought, and it was late at night. I was heading home. I lived in South Salt Lake at the time. Maybe it was more. Anyway, I was heading in that direction. I was on 7th East, not too far from Liberty Park, and I'd pulled in the left-hand turn lane to make a left, and a woman hit my car. And I didn't know it was a woman at the time. Okay, I didn't know who it was. So think about that. It's, late at night, dark. I didn't know it was a woman. She hits my car. She takes off. Well, I'm going to give chase. I'm young. I'm a journalist. I'm about getting to the truth, right? And when you do something wrong, you stick around, you admit it, you work out the details, you call each other's insurance company. Whatever you do, you just work through it. You file a police report. You know the drill. So I gave chase. Now, it wasn't a high rate of speed because, again, I didn't know at the time it was a woman. I also didn't know she was probably like in her late 90s. Okay, but she's just weaving in and out of the neighborhood, and I think it's really suspicious. And I pursue her, and now I'm getting frustrated. I'm not quite angry. I don't know if I'm really a kind of person that gets super enraged on the road, but I get frustrated. So I was frustrated. I was on the verge of, bumper locking her in her driveway, getting out of my car and letting her, reading her the, the riot act. So she pulls into the driveway and gets out of her car. And I realized right then, oh my goodness, this is somebody's great grandmother. And she's scared to death of me. And she should have been.
So she was aware that you were following her?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I was out of my mind at that point, right? To be following her and weaving in and out of neighborhoods just to get her license plate? Who I didn't know if she had a gun. Of course, it's 30 years ago. I got to tell you, times were different back then. They were a lot different back then. Right now, I'm afraid if I brake check somebody or I don't let them in my lane, it could be the last time I see my family. Things are a lot different now. I was very blessed. And realizing, talking to Cindy just moments ago, how blessed I was that incident did not escalate to what happened to Michael or what happens to other people when they're shot on the scene of a road rage incident. It's just life ends that fast. It's not worth it. It's just a thing. My car is just an object.
Yeah.
Was the damage that bad that I couldn't have gotten it fixed? Of course not. And even if it was, it's just an object. It's a thing. You can't.
That's why you have insurance,
yeah,
right?
You can't replace a human life. Nor. Also, I'm sure she's long gone now. She's, gone to the car lot in the sky. But what a horrible feeling for her. How scary for her.
Did you just drive off, or did you
No,
talk to her?
He yelled out my window. He yelled out my window.
Yeah.
And I left. I mean, I didn't confront her after that, but I yelled out my window. No, I'll never do that again.
A few tips from UDOT. If something does happen, they go ABC. Avoid retaliation, breathe, and carry on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say. Another tip that they put in is avoid eye contact. Eye contact can be seen as confrontational. Look straight ahead. Do not react to provocative gestures or words.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just get out of there. You know what I mean? Just turn off the road and keep going and go home and hug your family and think about the Michael Browns in the world. These kids won't have another hug from their daddy.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. KSL News Time is 12 o'clock noon, and this is Utah's Noon News. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. A man has died after police say he was involved in a road rage incident and fight in Lehi. Our team coverage begins with KSL News Radio's Adam Small, who has the latest.
Lehi police say 38-year-old Michael Brown cut off and brake-checked another driver on Sunday. The two eventually got out of their cars and threw punches. Brown got hit in the head and fell unconscious on the road. According to a GoFundMe organized by extended family, he sustained a traumatic brain injury and was pronounced dead at the hospital last night. He leaves behind a wife as well as two sons, ages 10 and 8. KSL legal analyst and practicing attorney Greg Skordas is acting as the family's spokesperson.
I think it's been doubly hard on the boys, in part because they were present when the incident took place.
The